How's it going, everyone, and welcome to a filler episode of No Excuses on YouTube.com with two of your favorite show hosts, Ara still.
And Volcel and no Fern because Fern has got a work crisis he's got to take care of due
Yeah,
to some rail issues in his part of the world.
so on Friday I had some time that was pretty lax, and I talked to myself, and Fern talked me into restarting the Minecraft server, and we got that booted, and we got all on, and we were gonna go play some Minecraft, and like some train derailed or a bridge collapsed or something, and Fern had to run away and said, "Oh, by the way, I won't be back on Saturday," and just disappeared.
Yeah, basically he is doing shifts end to end all weekend now.
Yeah.
So what is it that he said to me? It's in here somewhere. Um, yeah, so he was last night he was on the night shift, and then he went to sleep and got up and went straight onto the morning shift, and then he's going straight into the afternoon shift after that. So basically, he's working continuously. He's been working continuously since he disappeared.
Yep. So I would like to get away from Pip and Nipple Rod over here. So let's go ahead and start our Heaven on High run.
Good old Pippin Nibblrod.
We'll start from floor one since you don't have
Yeah, so
61 to 70 Mechanist.
due to the sheer economy of the thing, the use of rail in Australia, despite the fact that Australia is quite popular for where Fern's part of the world, simply because of the amount of ore they have to move around.
Yeah.
But
The
Australia is also a real bad place for rail because it's desert,
yeah.
meaning that the rails heat up and they cool down, and they heat up and they cool down, and basically it ruins everything.
So you get us doing the usual filler show, which is us winging it in a deep dungeon while we, because it doesn't take a whole lot of brain work, and we just try and wing it like normal. We have a lot of railways in my area, well, just north of my area, that go through the mountains, but the only problems they really have to worry about are landslides, which do happen a lot, but not enough to be a major problem.
Yeah, Fern's told me that when it gets really hot, the temperature changes can be enough that all the bolts will just shear off.
Yeah, we have that problem in the super open dry areas where it gets super duper hot at the base of the mountains, but on the mountains themselves, where most of the rails go through, it's only landslides that are really a problem. So yeah, uh, we're doing Heaven on High. Ball wanted to do Heaven on High for EXP reasons, so we'll just bumble our way through here.
I also like the aesthetic better. It's more comforting.
Yep. So so yeah. I guess we'll start there with weeks and start with Falls Week.
Oh, we're starting my week, huh? My week has been rough. We're now so neck deep in resignations that I don't think that I've ever been so reluctant for the next week to come, and I'm usually pretty damn reluctant for the next week to come because next week I have to try and the team lead of processing basically threw a wobbler at having her leave denied all the time and said she was going on holiday whether the boss liked it or not, and so she's on holiday, and I now have to try and run processing in her place, which is not my usual gig, so I'm not really that confident I can even find stuff. But the upshot of that is that I now need to run processing next week, and in what is essentially a very, very busy week, because first week of the month has ILCPs, which make everything quite busy, and the only staff I have at my beck and call are a part-timer and two fresh-faced trainees who haven't been trained yet. And I've got to somehow keep the car in the road, and I have no idea how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I would like to just say, oh, well, we'll subcontract the bulk of the work out to the sister lab in Auckland, and we'll just do what needs to be done in short order. since we're running low on staff and I don't have the time to train people at the same time as running an unfamiliar job. But the economy is such that we really can't afford to just subcontract on a whim right now. Frankly, the economy is kind of a disaster. Are you going to die?
No, I was super delighted.
Okay.
We stepped on a landmine when I pulled 2 dudes, so I just popped super blade.
Can I sell my super potions or can I not use them?
You can use them.
It's grayed out. I must have... Oh, I must have sold them on accident last time I was in town.
Oh, no. We have no items on this floor. That's why you can't use them.
Right. Because I was thinking we were still on previous one. It's like, oh, we have auto heal penalties, so I'll use a potion. That was last floor though.
No, we have no items on this one, so you can't use super potions.
Still can't find them in my inventory. Where have they gone?
Yeah, I had to move them onto my extra bar just now when you mentioned them because I don't have them on my my gunbreaker bars. My gunbreaker bars are set up for proper PvE. I kept trying to target the shark, but the treasure chest nearby kept grabbing my auto target because it was inside the dead dude. He dropped the chest.
So I'm sort of apprehensive about next week's work. This week's work wasn't too bad. Everything went wrong, but I'm now sort of so familiar with everything going wrong that I can usually home in on a at least applicable course of action relatively quickly. But it was still a messy week, and so I didn't do anything too dramatic with my free time. I did get to play a little bit of Final Fantasy, not a huge amount, but just enough to make me feel like I hadn't stopped playing it entirely.
Got the usual weekend raids.
Yeah, we got the usual weekend raids done. I've made a little bit of progress leveling my various jobs. I really want to get the... I've never been able to complete my leveling projects before the end of an expansion before, and I have been playing during every expansion, but I never have the time. But I caught up more during Shadowbringers than I ever have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of hoping that I can at least get everybody to 90, every job to 90 before this expansion is over. So I'm currently working on that project, and I made reasonable progress. All of my jobs, except for fishing, I think, are now at least at 50.
You know,
and most of them are past 50.
You know, if you go to the lodestone, there are 2 more levels tracked that aren't shown in the level tab. Your resistance rank and your elemental level.
I don't wish to think about those.
Oh,
at all.
Goodness. Those grinds.
Especially the elemental level.
Those grinds are... Oh, boy.
Well, I mean, they're grinds, but at least Bosnia's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, Eureka's not.
I don't really want to think about that.
When I talk about the good parts of Eureka, I'm saying it's not as bad as Pagos. That's what good in Eureka means. It's not torture. Well, it's not as torturous. It's still really, really, really bad.
Yeah, I feel like I've made reasonable progress, all things considered. Like, as you can see, I've gotten Machinist at least into Heaven on High level. Actually, I need to adjust my volumes, but the music that just came in very loud. Yes.
We're gonna get shucked.
Yeah. So, the big fly in the ointment, as always, is Monk. Like, it's always there, waiting for me.
There's a reason for a period of time, about 8, 9, 10 months ago, all I did was play Monk. And it was specifically so I didn't have to play Monk anymore.
Yeah, it do be like that. But,
it's okay.
Yeah, I think that...
Abo mains it now as his main DPS job.
He really likes it, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I was the first one to poo-poo Monk. I fully understand that Monk is a piece of hot garbage, and I think he's insane.
But yeah, so Monk is there, but I think I might relegate Monk to leveling purely through Beast Tribe quests. That might be its role in society.
Yeah.
At the as I don't know how much more I can talk. But then again, I just don't really want to play it at all. So
Just
yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So it's currently rotting on level something. I don't know. I can't look it up while I'm in here, can I?
No, you can't open your character page. As I
Yeah.
close my Pomander window trying to do.
Yeah. But I think it's probably like level 71, 72, something like that right now. So it'll get there in the end. But the problem is I'm concerned that I'm going to not have anything at 80
Oh, to
for
abuse the ridiculous XP from the hippos.
Hippo Rider quests. Yeah, the Hippo Rider quests are great value for time and effort. About as good a value as any given thing can be.
The problem is they're
But,
so good that they wind up taking something out of the 80s before you know it.
Yeah, and I don't have the sort of time required to like binge rush something up to 80, so I think I'm going to end up with a gap, but at least you get the new tomestones from it if you're at a max level. So I think you do anyway.
Yeah,
Not sure.
Yeah, you do.
So that'll be something, but it doesn't really fit with my plans because currently Reaper's doing that job. So I still don't really like it. I don't like horribly dislike it, but I don't really like it as a melee job.
You wouldn't.
There aren't really there isn't really that much appeal for me for melee jobs in this game anyway.
I wouldn't play Reaper by choice, but if you put a gun to my head, you could talk me into playing Reaper.
It's not really a ringing endorsement.
Like,
why is there so much crap in this room?
It's a treasure room. Yeah, treasure rooms are still a thing in Heaven on High.
They don't usually have that much treasure.
They should have
Like they're barely. Yeah, but it's usually gold ones. Just basically doesn't count as treasure at all.
There's 3 golds and a silver in here.
So probably nothing of value.
If we get a strong, we can use a strong. It's always worth it to gamble for a strong. I am not opening that silver chest.
Is that percentage damage or absolute damage?
It's max HP. Whew. Good thing auto regen put you up. Yeah, silver chest can kill you. Speaking of strong. I probably should have let you pop the strong since you're DPS, but...
That doesn't make much difference.
But yeah, always try and gamble for strongs.
Yeah, I'm dumping most of my free time.
You can strong,
such as I have in into FF, but it's usually not very used very efficiently because at the end of the day I don't have a huge amount of energy. So basically, what will happen is I'll put on something that I'm wanting to watch on my other monitor, and then main scenario roulette is usually the way to go. Which, you know, as we know, is always Praetorium. So there's usually a lot of free time there. But yeah, I'm creeping along. I can't say that I like Ninja much more than I like Monk.
Ninja's too busy. I hate PvE Ninja.
It's the highest APM in the game, and it's not close.
Yeah, it's
higher APM than Machinist.
Yeah, it's way too busy.
The people that like it really like it, much in the way the people that like Monk really like Monk, like Abo.
Yeah,
but,
I love Ninja in PvP. You can restrong for funsies.
Oof. But where was I? Oh yeah, main scenario roulette. At least you get the best bents in main scenario roulette. That I have to say, because nobody's really paying attention to what's going on in there.
Yeah, the best part that whenever me and Abo go on there is who's coming off the boat. We'd like to guess at who's going to come off the boat and how ridiculous it's going to be. And it's always so disappointing when it's just, generic cat grill in a boring adventuring gear.
You mean in Ironworks?
Yeah.
It'll always be Ironworks. No, I think last night's one I had was a guy who had done his character and his glamour exactly as Hildebrand.
I see.
Which meant that Hildebrand was just sort of standing there in the background of all the cutscenes looking solemn, which made it incredibly silly.
Yeah, I had one guy that I called Lego Megatron. He was a Rogadin in full rainbow assorted armor that all looked like it was made of bricks. He won quite a bit. Usually male Rogadins have the best glamours. I find.
Yeah, well, I think it's sort of like to do with the character of the sort of person who rolls up a Rogadin is normally somebody who's a bit hammy, likes to have the attention.
Somebody's a little bit larger than life. Or somebody that just likes being large.
Yeah. So I don't. It's not like I have much to report about my FF playing since it's been mostly routine stuff. But after all this time, I still have fun doing it. Like most people I talk to hate the main scenario roulette, but I really enjoy it. Like I find it very relaxing.
It's time to do other stuff. Like if I don't have enough can time, it's good time for pinecone dailies.
Well, the thing is, I even like it. I even like it if I get the last one or if I get the Castrum Meridianum. I enjoy all of them. They're just a sort of a relaxing lark where there's not really that much that can go wrong.
See,
So
I don't get those. I just get Praetorium.
yeah, I would say that on average, I get them fairly evenly with a slight margin for Praetorium.
I get Praetorium a disproportionate amount of times. So, at this point, I've seen Nero have his monologue so many times that I just would rather get caught up on the Pinecone anime or something.
Which you do.
Yes.
But yeah. So yeah, I'm still having fun with that. Pinecone, nothing happened this week.
It's a beat
at
week.
all. It was a clan battle.
It's a beat
Clan
week.
battle week.
Yep.
But and since I can't contribute to clan battles.
You did a million one time almost.
I've got a couple of teams that can hit 1 million in the first few rounds, provided it's not the final boss. I can only do a few 100,000
Just move
against
on.
that scorpion. I had very poor fortunes with that scorpion, I must say. It did not go well for me at all.
Yeah, me and Abo had to spend about 10 minutes sitting down and noodle busting with trial attempts to figure out how to get around the scorpion and the later parts when he could kill us.
Yeah, I tried a lot of different trial teams against the scorpion just to see if there was some build I could do where he wouldn't like immediately kill the second position or the fourth position, which is what kept happening to me. It didn't seem to matter how I set my team up. Either the second position or the fourth position would die.
He always targeted. He has a mini tank buster that he hits the second or the highest physical attack damage member of your team with. And this was the problem with the magic team. The person that has the highest physical attack is still squishy. So the answer was Yukari for me.
Well, yeah, that's what I did, but I mean, that wasn't really good enough because there were always two positions that were taking a lot of damage for me. Didn't matter really how I put the team together, and I could only protect one of them at a time. So
your Yukari doesn't have her unique equipment yet, does she?
Yes, she does. She's had it for a
Okay,
very long time.
okay. That helps tremendously. Oh, I finally got Hearthstone. I'll bop this room since it's right here. It's an easy gather. It's just turtles.
You and your super glide.
I didn't push Super Blade that time. I pushed literally everything but Super Blade. You can restrung, by the way.
Strong.
Restrung before the boss.
Normally, I assume if your health gets that low, it's because you hit super glide, because you seem to be very free with that button.
No, that's this button.
Why? Why landmine?
I like how it popped right as I hit Super Blade. If the damage calculation timers had been a little wacky with the server there, I could have died.
I would like to think that they haven't rigged it up like that.
I wouldn't die because the landmine cannot kill you. It cannot deal lethal damage.
Alright, I see. Even if you've got 1 hit point.
I assume it does not kill you because I've never ever had a landmine kill me, even when I've been absurdly low. But I don't know about 1 hit point. I would have to get there naturally to test it without Super Blade.
Ah, crap. Hit the wrong button.
Alright, I don't have continuation. That's not a thing I have. I don't have cartridge charge either.
Stop pressing buttons you don't have, are still. Oh, right, I forgot I've got Tactician now, don't I? Well,
Yeah.
I'll push it late.
I mean, you can push it if you want to. We don't. The boss is dead. So,
Well, I mean, it's not doing anything, so I might as well.
okay, he blew up.
So Tactician is one of the ones that I'd gone for the longest time without it because I'd forgotten that it was in the Heavenswood level ranges, and
Oh,
you have to get all your abilities by doing quests.
Oh, you're the Peloton monkey this time.
Oh, right, yeah, Peloton's the thing we've got, isn't it?
Yeah. You can check your job levels now.
No, Monk's only at level 72. 18 more levels to get rid of it. Good grief. At least if I really, really wanted to get it out of the way, I could just grind through trusts, but I don't really want to play it, so that's the problem with that.
I will.
Ninja's at 58. Ugh. Black Mage is at 58. Astrologian's 54. That's my lowest, it looks like.
You could screenshot it and dump it in live show chat.
No, I don't really want to. It's embarrassing.
I'll talk about my conclusion to my leveling adventure this week. Quite excited.
Oh, right. Your conclusion.
You finally wrapped it all up. But we'll talk about that during my week.
But, yeah. FGO is also on a beat week. As I said last week, the only thing I had left to finish on Gouda Gouda was the challenge quest, and I was really feeling terribly undermotivated for that because I've really come to hate them. I used to not mind them, but they've become so crit centric these days, and so like they are actually taking them seriously in the sense of how do I say, in the sense of like sort of like slugging them out as a brawl is really, really contraindicated for what the bosses are actually capable of doing. Like, it just doesn't make sense to do that. It's almost like if you can't take it out in 3 or 4 turns, you might as well not bother because it's going to take you too long.
Hey, we got a Magicite.
What do you say?
We got a Magicite.
Oh, right.
Use it on a BSR.
So I was really not terribly motivated to be honest.
Crap.
But I had just popped reassemble when I stood on that. I was very upset. But yeah, I was very unmotivated. But fortunately, when I was doing a quick browse online, I found a build that allows you to 4-turn the challenge quest using things that I already had everything for. So, yeah, I went and did it, and it went like clockwork, fortunately. But these days I'm always looking for the easy way out on them because I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of those. I play the game for the story primarily, and I don't mind doing the combat, and I don't even mind doing the farming, but I hate having to deal with the challenge quests because they strike me as being deliberately obtuse bullshit.
Yeah.
Like they're designed to directly impede all of your favorite strategies, and so you basically just have to look for the one obtuse strategy they forgot to outlaw and use that.
Yeah, it's in FGO. I have more fun noodling my way through problems in Pinecone than I do FGO. And I can't really tell you why. I don't think about FGO's gameplay enough to be able to process my brain in a way where I could explain all that to you.
I think that you have a very distorted perspective on that though, because in the case of Pinecone, you literally have every conceivable piece.
I, yeah, that does come
Your
from
your
playing.
your toolkit is
Ah,
entirely complete.
that was almost disaster.
I don't think it's really very comparable because even though you have an exceptionally strong toolkit for FGO, most of them just aren't built. I am very squishy right now.
I am super blighted.
I don't have one of those. Is there any self-preservation abilities at all? Other than arm's length, which hardly counts?
The only ranged DPS that has one of those that I know of is Dancer.
Well, you can remove debuffs from yourself as Bard.
I suppose. Or almost.
Which is something I actually do because I kept getting over the past week when I did like a couple of roulettes. I don't have time to do more than one or two per week, more or less. But I did a couple of roulettes, but I kept getting what was it called? The Great Google Library. I kept getting Great Google Library, and we had a run where the healer just did not Asuna ever. And so anytime anybody got caught on the demon book, time anybody got caught in the AoE and got the slow debuff, they would just die because they wouldn't be able to get behind the book in time. And the healer just didn't seem to nut out the fact that there are other things to do than healing and DPSing.
Oh man, you gotta love them healers. We had a healer today in Suisse that was one of them WoW healers.
Them WoW healers, so they stand there and do nothing but spam heals?
Yes. And it was an Astro too, so I got mega triggered because they didn't even play cards.
I've been trying to get better about that on Astro, actually playing them.
If healing gets really intense on Astro, I will forget as well. And well, I won't forget so much as I'll be preoccupied. And cards won't go out for a while. But it all depends on how clownish the group is. I'm at a point now where if the group's doing things correctly, cards are going out on cooldown. But
I'm still having trouble shaking off my sort of monomania about Astrodyne though. Like I'm trying to just relax and not think about it too much, as opposed to getting unbelievably frustrated every time I can't get anything but the balance.
yeah, you just gotta roll with what it throws at you. We're level 70, so we don't have to fight whole floors anymore. We can just roll our way through.
Yeah, it's like it's better to just not think about it and basically take whatever you get out of Astrodyne as the luck of the draw, quite literally in this case.
Yeah,
but
once you get better, you can shuffle for an extra shot. You can weave in a shuffle there, but that's
well, even if you do, that's not going to guarantee you anything.
no, it's just a shot, and it's something for if you main Astro. It's not something you do if you're a casual Astro.
Well, I do when I'm doing whatchamacallit, main scenario, but not when I'm doing other stuff.
Yeah, like learning how to not break your chain casts and still shuffle is a thing that just comes with practice. And you really have to main Astro because there's a whole lot of weird crap that goes on with Astro that you just gotta get used to looking out for.
I don't think I intend to main Astro. As far as healers go, I like White Mage better, and as far as shielders go, I like Scholar the best. Although, to be fair, I haven't actually tried Sage. Maybe I would really like Sage, but I really like Scholar, so I don't think it's very likely that I'll become attached to to Sage. Most people don't really seem to like Scholar for some reason. Or maybe that's just the weight of numbers is distorted by the sheer number of people that picked up Sage since it's new.
I was not a fan of. I've heard since Endwalker's Scholar has gotten way better, but
Well, people laughed. People laughed at them for their expedience ability. But then it turned out it's actually god moding hacker ability. If you're a Savage Raider, like having one of those in the group, it smooths out so many bumps. Because everybody moves faster.
yeah, it lets you deal with one mechanic on whatever its cooldown is at twice the efficiency. Okay, popping fortune.
Well, it's not just that. Oh well,
Popping
you're
sight.
going to make this more efficient. It's also that
Make the room go away.
it's also that having if you have the ability to suddenly accelerate everybody, when you fall behind on a mechanic, it becomes recoverable instead of snowballing.
Yeah. There's also a what you call it on this floor, horde. So look for that.
Yeah, I see it, but I'm currently clearing my exit points here.
You can strong, by the way.
Strength. Yeah. Yeah, so FGO was a dud. Pinecone was a dud. Basically, there was not much to do this week as far as video is concerned. But I never have time anyway, so go away, go away, go away.
That's
just being attacked by a gribbly hand thing.
Apparently the grubby hand is site aggro. I'm just gonna kill it.
Real.jpg.
Oh, we got our fortune back. Did you check all these already?
Oh, do they not disappear for you?
No. Oh, that's the Serenity. I'll take that one.
Well, this one is still here. Maybe this is the real exit.
Oh, no, I meant the chests out there in the middle. Not the exits.
Oh, because there was a huge mass of
The fake exits?
of
Yeah.
exit points. Like, this side of the room was all exit points.
Yeah.
I had to go and stand on all of them.
Yeah, they can be luring traps, by the way.
Yeah, I know. But I figured that I'd just run over to where you were if I picked one up, since there would be nothing else and I could just train them across the stage.
For the record, folks that are looking to do Heaven on High, that is how you deal with BFRs.
Well, you could spend ages doing it the way Fern and I did it.
Yeah, that's...
Because we got one Magicite in our entire run.
If you don't have a Magicite, you use Frailties instead.
Yeah, we did. We only had one of those too.
Man.
We had very unlucky.
Hey, we got a
chests.
Magicite.
We were able to get lots and lots of strengths, but that was it.
Man, there are some runs where I would trade 3 Magicites for a strong. You know what? I'll just go ahead and pop an Intuition. Oh, there's a horde on this floor somewhere. Oh, it's in that room we were just in. I'm going to step on a trap. We got 3 hordes already. Yeah, I'll go ahead and blow another one. Why not? Let's see if it's on the next few floors.
Yeah, so I did burn a bit of time. Once again, as I keep doing, this is one of those things I sort of orbit back around to on the regular. Looking at what the current market looks like for video cards, and it's still terribly unfavorable. As the market currently stands, it's looking like the best thing that I could afford if I decide to just go ahead and buy one would probably be a 3060 Ti, because that in and of itself is sort of like nearly 2 weeks pay, because there's this combination of the tax involved in low volume shipping things to New Zealand, making everything more expensive here, plus our economy is absolutely collapsing.
So
the only reason why the US is not seeing a high speed collapse is that as the other currencies start to fall apart, people will tend to go to the reserve currency, which is at present still the US dollar.
Yeah, and even then, we're still very slowly working our way down there. It's a much slower fall, but we're losing it.
Yeah. But that's why you've sort of been artificially insulated against the effects of everybody else's inflation, because your dollar just keeps getting stronger and stronger due to everybody fleeing to it. But yeah, the basically buying components is very expensive right now. It hasn't gotten more expensive, but it also hasn't gotten cheaper. Like, I haven't observed the sort of downward drift that you have on prices.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I talked about last week, Nvidia did announce their new 40 series, which it's reasonable to suppose that there's a decent chance of real impact on market pricing as a result of that. Whoops, I accidentally hit the head graze button.
Pulled the turtle.
Yeah. There's a reasonable chance that that's going to affect something, although it's sort of hard to tell by how much and in what way exactly. Those cards are likely to hit the market on about October the 12th. And so there's usually going to be a series of 4 impacts on the market. There will be the annual new series announcement or whatever by Nvidia, then the release of the actual hardware, then there will be AMD's announcement and then the release of their hardware, and then there'll be following that there'll be their lower end stuff, because they always launch the flagships first because they want people excited. So what I'm hoping is that there will be a reasonable sort of oomph that will hit the market pricing around the middle of October, and then I'll look into probably buying in late October, because honestly, as far as pricing goes, the performance of this most recent generation of AMD is just not quite there per price.
Mm-hmm.
Like, their cards are across the board, their cards are cheaper than the Nvidia ones, but the performance that you get for going upper class, it just doesn't quite justify the price compared to Nvidia's. Like, generally speaking, like a 3060 Ti is pretty significantly better than the market equivalent from AMD right now. And if you were to bump up classes of AMD to match the 3060 Ti, you're going to sail a little bit past the price of a 3060 Ti. So generally speaking, price performance is leaning in Nvidia's favor, and it's... But I almost don't really like even addressing the matter in this generation, because the 30 series generation is a very bad generation of cards. Like, if you're looking in the broader scheme of things over the course of time, the 30 series from Nvidia and the equivalent 6000 series from AMD are just a really bad stagnant series of cards, because there's no visible technological progress. If you spend, let's say, $1,000 on a card in the 20 series, and you spend $1,100 on a card in the 30 series, you will still only be getting like $100 more performance. Like, you're not actually, if you buy the same price card in each year, because of the way they've been increasing the prices, you're going to end up getting the same card functionally.
Yeah, it's and what's more, it's all these cards are still way overkill. Like, my 3070 Ti is mega overkill for anything that's been released in the last while, unless you want to play it on a 4K behemoth.
That's because we're not dealing with the 4K question. Like, that's what everybody is thinking about for some reason. And I'm like, do these people really all afford 4K monitors? Is that really a thing? People have that much money? But I guess they're buying, the 6950 from AMD or the 3090 Ti or whatever insane crap they've got.
Yeah, that whatever $1,500 redo card that they have out right now.
But yeah, it's the whole landscape of the market is just really disheartening. But the reason why I'm sort of a bit antsy about it is that November seems like a bad month.
Yeah,
It seems like it's going to be a bad month worldwide.
for supply especially.
I'm not even just talking about computer components.
Yeah, just in
I think
general,
that-
supply's going to go down and not be
No,
able to
no,
meet demand.
November's going to be bad across the board in every conceivable way. I think that logistics are going to break down. Everybody's currency is going to be in the toilet. We are likely to be seeing the beginning of World War III. Like everything is falling apart come November, and America's going to be embroiled in their usual asinine political cycle around that time as well, which I'm sure is going to perpetuate a lot of manufactured chaos.
And is the outcome of which will likely determine the course of the entire world, unfortunately. So get your butts out there and vote.
Implying voting does anything.
On the day. Not early. Not by mail. You get your butts in there on election day, as late as you can, and then you vote. That's about the only secure measure I got for you folks.
I think there's got the squama thing.
I signed up to be a poll watcher.
Well, somebody's going to do it.
I mean, I felt like, yeah, I can complain about this stuff all I want, but I need to at least do something. So I'm not just one of them people. I'm not just some, all the Redditors and the people on the Donald that complain all the time.
What do those butterflies do? I don't remember.
They just explode in a circle.
Oh, that's all. Okay.
Yeah, they're literally nothing. You can ignore them.
I was expecting something a little bit more tricksy than that. I forgot that I had Tactician again.
I was out of range of it. No, I was in range of it. I thought I was out of range of it. Oh, no, I was out of... No, it's on my buff bar. I'm just insane. Don't worry about me. I'm crazy. I'm crazy. Not Kuka crazy, but still pretty crazy. Moth fragility.
Moth fragility?
The cast they do when they explode is called fragility.
I see. But yeah, so because November is going to be such a crappy month for everybody, it looks like. I'm really... Did you super Belied?
Yes.
Did it help? Do you
Yes.
feel empowered?
I feel belighted. Superly, in fact.
Yeah, so November seems like it's going to be a rough month, so I'm sort of going to try and, push my luck to probably the midterms, the midterm elections in the US, since that's likely to be an inflection point for a lot of things, and then I'll probably look at pulling the trigger on buying a graphics card because everything's going to fall apart after that. Maybe it won't, but there's a chance that there's a better than even chance that it will, the way things are going.
It's all a coin flip right now. Predicting the future right now is really... It's so unstable. I wouldn't even try.
Yeah, well, it's not a matter of predicting the future. It's about hedging your bets, right?
Yeah.
If you, my graphics card is 7 years old, and I still want to play video while the world burns. So.
Oh yeah, I already have my plans on how to deal with the nice men in suits that show up at my door with a card. You may not see me on the show for a while.
Well, I mean, we can pick it back up in person when we all end up in the gulags in Siberia or something. But yeah. So I'm looking at getting something of the class of a 3060 Ti if prices don't drop. If they do drop, then they'll probably drop about a price class, and I'll get something like what Ari's got probably. That's looking like the likely plan at this point. But yeah, generally speaking, the 30 series and the 6000 series were a bad generation where they basically move. You don't get more power for your money in that class compared to the 20 series. Like if you were using a 2080 Ti and you upgrade for the same amount of money, you get a 3070 Ti, which has the same amount of power. Like, that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, it's
They're just capitalizing on the fact that everybody was locked in their houses and needed to make a new rig. And of course, crypto boom, which I don't know. It seems like every time crypto has a bust phase, everybody gets surprised by it, which really puzzles me since
crypto
it
booms
seems to
and
happen.
busts nonstop.
Yeah, like how can you still be surprised by it after all this time? It doesn't make a lot of sense,
Like
but people are.
crypto goes up and crypto goes down. Crypto goes up and crypto goes down. It depends on if somebody has a dumb idea with crypto or if a government tries to intervene with crypto. We really need Fern on this show, otherwise we go really off in the weeds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's all of the major governments of the major currencies like the US dollar and the pound sterling and so on. Their reserve banks are all very focused on government-backed digital currency. Basically, they want to displace crypto from digital currency with something that is government regulated so that they can legitimately, when I say legitimately, I mean by the letter of the law, delete money from your account when they want to, sort of thing.
Yeah, so they can take your wealth because you're not towing the party line. You didn't praise Brandon's sniffing of children. So they're going to take your weekly earnings and give it to the poor. They're give it to the poor, abused pedophile down the road from you who needs it more.
Said critical things about Brandon's bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline.
I'm pretty sure if we don't say that Russia bombed their own pipeline for no discernible reason soon, we're all going to the YouTube gulags.
Yeah, that's going to be the next grand truth issued by the High Inquisitor of the electronic world. Get your vaxxers, everybody. Everybody will die if you don't.
The exit's open, by the way.
Oh, right. There's still people getting those boosters.
Oh, I know.
I
After
saw
all,
people talking about it online, and I'm like, really?
Really? You see good old Brandon come out. He wasn't talking about this hurricane, but just hurricanes in general a few months ago, and he's like, the most important thing you can do if a hurricane's coming your way is get vaccinated.
That's probably still more sane and more reasonable than what Klobuchar said.
Yeah.
Which is that the if you don't want any more hurricanes, you simply need to vote Democrat. That makes sense, right? Because the Democrats control the weather. I fail to see any problems with this logic. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, we're all living in comic book land now. I'm adorable, so
Fantastic.
you're on your own. I'm tanking
Well,
while adorable.
Still seems interested in beating you up, so.
There is no walk animation for the otter. He only moves slightly slower.
Yeesh. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time looking at information on that, and it didn't come to any real decent conclusions other than there's no way that I'm not going to be out a huge amount of cash for this, because based on the way they set the prices for the 40 series, they're only interested in hoovering up that early adopter cash. So that's literally the only thing they care about. Technologically as well, it seems to me that
I would have laughed so hard if you died right there.
well, you would have died as well, so.
I think I would have been just out of range, and the beacon of return would be literally right there, just to mock you.
But, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the as far as I can tell though, Nvidia's technology has really stagnated. Like a lot of their driver side stuff is quite good for this generation, but as far as the raw technology goes, it seems like they've just squeezed more bits onto it.
Yeah, and
Which is why you've got these enormous like cards that take 3.75 slots and need a gigantic heatsink, like multiple times bigger than the card itself, just to run. I don't know how hot they run, but there's a couple of trends in the market right now where there's I think it's the new series of CPUs, AMD's new series of CPUs that they just announced. Their what are they up to now? 7,000 series for Ryzen CPUs.
6,000.
What's your one?
50 something.
There's an R5 5600X. Is it?
I will tell you what mine is in just a moment. Let me pull up.
I think it's the one that is roughly the same as the Intel one that I have.
I'm using a 5600X.
Yeah. 5600X is like the same price class and performance as the one that I've got. Mine is a 12400
Let's see.
F. But yeah,
It's on this floor.
but AMD have moved in this bizarre direction where your actual power output is controlled by the temperature. So the better the cooler, the higher the clock speed. And I'm not talking about overclocking either. I'm talking about legitimately they have set it up so that what happens normally is that it will skyrocket up to 90 odd degrees and then throttle.
Yeah.
And if you can cool it down, then it will simply throttle later.
Yeah.
And which is a lot of graphics cards operate in a way similar to this, but they've made this standard for their CPU series. So yeah, they've changed their technology over this, in this particular class, and it remains to be seen. I don't think that the Raptor Lake tech has been reviewed yet, but AMD have also announced that they're moving to a different architecture, a chiplet-based architecture for their graphics cards. So at least they are iterating on technology, and Intel are at least, working on trying to get their graphics cards off the ground. They've got a lot of driver issues though at present, from what I've heard. But I mean, there's going to be teething problems, right? If you try and break into a market like that, that's already so dominated by two major players. But nobody likes the duopoly, so it'd be good if they could get in there. But they're not going to be able to enter the market with like their Arc series. It's going to probably be 5 or 10 years before they're genuinely competitive at the rate they're going. Because number one, people don't have any reason to value or trust Intel GPUs yet, and they're probably not going to be entering at sort of the high end of the market. They're probably going to want to seize market share in that sort of bulk portion of the market.
Yeah, get in at what would now be like the 3060, 3070 tier.
Yeah, that's where you want to sort of set the top of your power rating. On the other hand, it also does help to have a sort of a really powerful flagship to give that halo effect to the rest of your products. But realistically, they need to be making a play for market share to put them in like close third or second place for better.
Yeah.
But currently, they're not really. Like, they're not a serious consideration at present because they have too many issues. And basically, DX9 is a no-go.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem for compatibility.
Yeah. Ah, man. Auto attacks, yo.
I can use Danger Zone once every 30 seconds. Potsherd. No. You having fun with your flamethrower?
It is a fun ability.
Not a very particularly...
Not very usable in any way, but it's fun.
I do like it. The situations where you can just sit down and just let it go are rare and fun. Like in a dungeon where nothing has an AoE, you can... Oh, now we can't use our abilities. You know what? I don't particularly feel like getting pacified on the floor that we don't have abilities for.
Could get awkward, yes.
So yeah. So you're looking
Yeah,
at
so
breaking in maybe sometime late October, early November.
yeah, that's what I'm looking at because I just don't trust the world to continue existing for much longer after that.
Get your gaming
But
done while you can. On
yeah,
the plus side,
before I
I
get
don't think.
conscripted to go
I,
and fight to the death in Russia.
well, they'll conscript you, but we're not going to say more.
I don't know. Fortunately, we've been sort of out of the way because Jacinda's too busy hobnobbing with Macron about how she's planning to suppress the populace.
Yeah, we need to have full internet censorship. I saw part of that speech.
Yeah, I mean it's all it's all she's just basically literally reading from the 1984 playbook. It's like this is clearly something that she uses as a manual. But yeah, it's very frustrating looking on that kind of thing. But that's the way it be here. And yeah, I kind of want a powerful graphics card, not because I need a powerful graphics card, but because I just want to be able to forget about graphics cards for another 7 years like I did last time I bought one.
Because there may not be a graphics card manufacturing company that exists after the next year or two.
All of these these semiconductor industries are in Taiwan, so
Oh,
what's going to happen?
there's another invasion scare I saw this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, there's one like every other week, but there was another one this week. Oh, we missed a horde on a floor. Oh well.
Well, I don't honestly think that China can afford war. Like as a simple financial prospect, I don't think that they can bankroll a war.
And they don't want to nuke the place; they'd lose all the value from it. So.
Well, yeah, China is the sort of country that has to go to war for resources simply because they've ruined all of their own land. It's so polluted that it's not good for anything anymore, so they have to steal somebody else's. That's basically it. And as far as taking over Taiwan goes, Taiwan is like, it's like taking control, like the sort of iron-fisted control that they took over Hong Kong was because they wanted Hong Kong's wealth. And Taiwan will be the same scenario basically. But
only problem is people are going to have to die to get Taiwan, and I'm not sure they got the resources to fund that kind of thing for.
Well, it's not about resources. It's the fact that they simply don't have the food and water necessary to keep an army standing. Like the financial situation of China is incredibly dire. They don't have food. They don't have water. Everything as far as natural resources is falling apart. What they have that other countries don't have is production capacity. They have slave labor, lots of it. And that's what gives them their wealth, essentially. Like, most of their on-paper wealth is just, like I've mentioned before, it's property value on paper, and that's it. But, you've got a lot of their major property moguls are having to default because they can't turn that property into liquid, so they can't pay their debts. But,
okay, we gotta find the horde before we leave this floor.
Right. You're always in such a hurry to move to the next floor.
Oh, I found it.
But yeah, because I don't know what the status of things is going to be, I might as well get a graphics card now. Realistically, I'm only really interested in turning the settings up to max and FF, and that's basically all that it'll get used for.
Just you want to get my sweet load times?
Your load times are not noticeably different from mine.
I get in like a whole 2 seconds before you in some of the bigger dungeons.
No, I see on my screen. I see you draw in after me.
I'm always the first one loaded in now.
It's all relative.
Yeah,
it's all relative. Like you're not seeing you may think you're loading in before me, but I think I'm loading in before you if I go by simply what I see.
I see. I am loading in like a full 4 seconds ahead of Abo's MacBook. His 2012 MacBook. That boy is screwed when the world goes to war and all falls apart.
Well, I think that there are bigger reasons why he would be screwed in that scenario.
Oh, there's no way he could pass boot camp. He couldn't.
I couldn't pass boot camp. Like I have too many health issues. My joints don't work. Like I have trouble standing up after crouching down because everybody in my family has knees that don't quite work properly.
All right.
But yeah, I don't think I really did much else. We're in that sort of awkward period between anime cores where most of them have ended and nothing has really started. This is the Stormcloud one, right?
Mm-hmm. So what I like to do is I like to pull into the middle of the room like this, and I'll dodge his crap until he starts doing the Stormcloud thing, and just don't really care. Whatever he does, he can do. And he'll do Cloud Call, and then I'll leave him here in the middle of the room. And I don't break these, and I wait because I have aggro on him, and I wait for him to start it, and then I go run underneath a Stormcloud by tilting my camera straight vertical on the edge. And then I go straight through it and come down, wait for the clouds to pop, and then dodge the AoE. And that's it. That's all you gotta do. This was hard to communicate when I couldn't demonstrate it because it's nuanced but not particularly hard. You know? The very, very small, constant strategy to it. And it's not hard. It's not even hard to remember. It's just hard to describe because it's a bunch of very small movements. You kind of see what I mean?
Yeah.
He'll do it again. Maybe. He died pretty quick because we have a DPS here. I can't rescue you. I don't have the rescue button. So yeah, when he does Cloud Call, you don't use the middle ones. Keep him in the middle. I have to wait before I run to a cloud on the outside. I tilt the camera straight vertical. I wait for him to do that. I go to the cloud. He pops me up. He'll do a line AoE on top of me. I don't move until that happens, and then I go behind him. If he does the line AoE, you cast it faster, and you step to the side after the clouds pop. That's what I was trying to describe to you and Fern last week, and I didn't get the message to you very clearly, apparently.
No, it really didn't make sense at all.
But it's much easier to describe in real time as we're doing it. So
Yeah, so no anime to watch this week really. I don't know if I'll look at anything tonight. Honestly, this weekend has been spoiled by the thought of the next week that's going to follow.
yeah,
It's just really not a constructive way to view your free time.
Putchard.
But yeah, so I've sort of dragged my week out on a lengthy sprawl. I mean, this part of the course on these shows where there's not a fern around to keep us in line. But
well, we did spend most of it talking about the potential World War III coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a thing. It's your country that's trying to start it. I mean, I don't know why.
Because the deep state wants it. All right. So is that it for your week, or you got?
Yeah, I don't really feel like talking much more about anything else. I don't think that I really did anything of particular interest. Like, this, I don't have the sort of. I don't like to think about a lot of the things that normally I would be thinking about buying because I don't have disposable income anymore. It's just disappeared into the inflation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm now back on the sort of budget I was on when I was an unemployed student. There's not really anything I can do about it either because the prices of everything have gone up so high. Like, my grocery bill is like a full quarter more than it used to be, less than 12 months ago.
Yeah, it's a mess.
My petrol bill has doubled since I bought a car. I've taken out health insurance because the health system has collapsed. Like, don't let anybody tell you different. The New Zealand public health system has collapsed. It does not function anymore. Like, if you are going to go and get treated under the public health system, you're rolling the dice. You may or may not get treated, and there's not really any way to guarantee that you will. So, insurance will go home, basically. You know, the thing that is constantly being decried, oh, nobody wants to be like America, you have to buy health insurance there. No, you have to buy health insurance in New Zealand as well. You just don't find out that you ought to until someone you care about has to try and use the public health system.
Yeah. Ooh, an Empyrean pine log. think those sell Ice Party, and that does not sell, but it's...
But yeah, the short version is I don't have any money anymore. Like, it's all spoken for just to keep me alive. So when it comes to doing something like buying a graphics card, this is something that has to be prepared at great length to ensure that it at least goes passably.
Yeah. Thankfully...
Like I said, it's like 2 weeks' wages to buy a graphics card, even a mediocre one.
Why is there a femboy bunny beside us?
Well, for some reason, femboys are a popular archetype, and I don't really understand why. I presume that they're only to appeal to women, but I'm not really sure why they appeal to women. I've heard that they stop appealing to women if women get off the pill. Like, it's entirely a product of chemical birth control.
This would be an interesting thing to study, but I think we're skirting dangerously close to a no-no topic for YouTube.
There are very few topics that are not no topics on YouTube anymore.
But this is a good segue. So, I have had a little bit of time this week. As I mentioned before on Friday, where the bulk of my free time was, I was going to set up a Minecraft server. This did not happen because, well, it happened. The server is set up. It's running a very simple Vanilla Plus mod pack that if somebody needs help installing, I can help them with. It's not hard. Although migrating your Mojang account is hard to Microsoft because you have to do that now.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. I presume I'll lose everything that I've got. I don't really know how to use Minecraft. I'm glad I don't really care that much about it because it seems frustrating the way things change all the time.
Yeah. So it's been 2 years since we had a Minecraft server. That's up now. The information's up. It's running Fabric, Better MC Fabric at 1.19.2, I think. And I've got the server IP address. There's no password. Just in the announcements board, and you're free to join and come play with us if you want. Nothing has been done yet. We've moved spawn and set up a noob shack, and Abo has started construction on something, and Fern started to build a volcano mansion, and then he had his work emergency. And this happened like within an hour of us starting the server up. So
I can't motivate myself to build stuff in Minecraft because people will lose interest. The server will disappear along with everything that I built, and I don't let go of things very easily. Oh man, Pippin Nipple is still here.
Yes, and he's right in screen. I'm gonna back away over to the tree over here. So instead, what I did, and why I was talking about femboys, I have worked on my glamour game a little bit. And the first is I discovered the magic of the push-up bra with Ninja. So as you can see, it is I have gone up like a full cup size and a half just by changing my shirt.
Yeah, this is to add to the archive of our discoveries on the jiggle slider.
Yes, the Jello meter is turned on, but it is not turned up super high on this chest. It does bounce a little bit, but I did want something with a boob window for Ninja. I thought that was nice. I found these nice pants that are very, very skin tight and almost see-through. I thought they were very sexy and cute. And then I found these booties with heels from the Near Raid, and I wanted them, so I got them. And it looked very good. And I got my animal weapon up to the stage I wanted, and now have a full Ninja Glamour. Yay! It is very cute. I think so, anyway. How do I turn the thing off? It's scroll lock, right? Yeah, there we go. So you can see my ninja outfit and the boots. It's very nice. Okay, turn scroll lock back off. I also did not get very creative with it, and it's still a work in progress, but I'm working on my dancer glamour, and as you can see, my boobs have shrunken. However, their jiggle meter has gone up. Now
that is how it be. Did you turn the boob slider all the way to maximum when you did character creation?
If I didn't, it's very close. It is at minimum 80%. Because it was not very noticeable in the character creator, I probably just jacked it all the way up. So, yes. This is current Dancer Glamour. It uses this. There just aren't a whole lot of good Dancer pieces, unfortunately. And as you can see, it uses the Fairy Tale heals, which are paid item. I did drop some money. I figured I played this game enough, and I got tired of having no good-looking heals, that I would buy the one thing in the Mog Station that has heals. And while I was there, because I can't stop myself, I paid for another thing, because Abo was pestering me for a Halloween Glamour, so I got the best Halloween Glamour, which is the Spooky Ghost.
I see.
So, that is as far as my non-productive Final Fantasy went. So, that is where I wanted to go from Femboys.
Pouring money into Yoshi P's pocket.
Yep. So, Yoshi P got 10 more bucks from me. So, there's that. And I need to turn back into a Gunbreaker. There we go. Standard Gunbreaker Glam. I need to find I think I got the Fending Boots as well from the Near Raid, and those have decent heals, and I have the Fairy Tale heals now, so I can do something with those. I just need to find good legs to go with them to make the Tank Glamour a little touched up. And I like my pink Tank Glamour. I especially like it on Paladin with the resistance weapon, because it matches, and it glows. And I think it's really cute. So, the true end game of Final Fantasy is, of course, this. Once Fall finishes his leveling up, he will be able to participate in this wonderful end game too, and we get to judge all his outfits.
I'm not very creative though, and I don't really have a very adventurous aesthetic sense. That's why I mainly use the sets that are already in the game, because I like the way a lot of those aesthetics pull together. I don't generally try and put together my own sets very often. Largely because it's a humongous amount of work.
What I like to do is, there's two methods I use for putting together glamours in this game. Number one, I go to a Eorzea collection and see a one that I want to use as inspiration and tweak it a bit. And that's worked out. That's how I got my ninja outfit. Or
I don't actually see that as any different to using a built-in set in the game. Like, it just doesn't register mentally for me as being any different.
Or I'll see a piece of gear and build a set around that. Like, I saw the armor here, this elemental armor for the tank, and I just wanted to build a set around that, and this is the best I could come up with for now. And I want to change the legs and feet a bit with better heels and not so squishy legs, but need to find some pants that are also not pants, because I'm on a war against pants.
Yes, you certainly don't approve of pants, and this appears to be much to Abo's chagrin.
This is entirely the reason I am against pants. If I am going to do pants, it will be pants like these that are pants in name only with my ninja outfit. So, the other thing, the long grind, slowly over time, of getting my stuff to 90 has been accomplished. It took... When did I come back? Year and a half?
The chronological duration really doesn't make any difference. I mean, it's about the amount of time you logged doing it. It's not about how long you've been subscribed.
Well, I'm just thinking, because it's been an on and off project since that's had its starts and stops since I resubbed, whenever that was.
I actually never even made the attempt until Shadowbringers to start leveling up most of my jobs.
So
and Shadowbringers coincides with the dropping of my free time to almost zero. So it's been a rough road trying to carve out time for it. If I could get people to freaking stay employed at work for 5 minutes, I could take time off to play video. But apparently that's not the case.
Yeah. So as I posted in live show chat and just showed you on the screen, I have all my combat classes at 90. All my crafter classes have been 90 for a while. And my Bajra rank and Eureka levels are maxed, and you got to hear me bemoan at least one of those in great detail while I was doing it in real time. And all in all, the grind was a nice, relaxing thing to do after work when I had the time for it. I didn't always have the time to get on and do them. But squeezing in the roulettes at least 2 or 3 times a week if possible. There were some weeks where I couldn't do it at all, but usually at least 2 or 3 days of everything except main scenario for for the roulettes. Sometimes skipping normal raids and 50, 60, 70, 80 as well, because they're just not very good EXP. Depending on what my time was like. Managed to eventually just get them all there over the course of probably about 6 months worth of active project time. So that's like the high EXP roulettes every day for 6 months is about what it takes. It's a long project, and it's best if you don't just think about it and treat it as just something that's on your to-do list after work or something, which is what I did.
If my to-do list wasn't already full of stuff, then maybe. But remember, I have a lot of other crap to do because I've got to maintain my whole house by myself.
Yeah. So I don't have that. I work. I am effectively self-employed, and so my workload is decided based on how much money I need to make, which is how many customers are available at the time, which is up and down, which leads to periods where I do have time to sit down and grind stuff. So
the amount of money I need to make is all of it because I'd like to continue to be able to eat.
So yeah,
like you guys haven't hit the power crisis yet, not in any real sense.
No, I'm sure they'll find a way to whack us with the upcharges, even though my area should not by any rights be affected by it ever. They will. I know they will. They'll find a way to do it. That's what the government do. And yeah, that's done. So now I'm only going on roulettes to help other people, scoop a few tombstones. One set of roulettes on a max level character will almost cap your tombstones for the week. So there's that. But I don't mind going to help people if they need it now. It's something that doesn't require a lot of brain activity. And if I just want to sit down and talk or just chill for a bit, I don't mind helping like Abo or maybe Vol out if he needs it, and just doing a few roulette runs. So yeah, the reason I didn't go right back in is because I wanted to show off all my new glamours.
So. I figured that one out, believe it or not. So. Yeah, it sounds like a really dumb reason, but part of the reason I don't care as much about glamour as some people is that it doesn't really fit my character's RP. My character's not like basically a ditz who never grew out of high school years like your one.
Yeah, my girl is the girl that was on the cheerleading squad, graduated high school, and accidentally became the Warrior of Light.
Yeah, well, my character is basically is quite literally good girl Xenos. Like, while she does have all of the correct attributes to be a heroic protagonist, she is also a battle maniac. So the whole finding Xenos incomprehensible thing that the other Scions did, like my sort of headcanon RP for that was basically my character not having the rhetorical skill to explain it, but like, no, look, it's obvious. This is what he's going to do because he has the same reasoning that I do, except he's evil.
Yeah.
But because of that, fashion doesn't really factor as strongly for my character, and it's just because of the headcanon, right? It makes sense for your airhead to be very concerned about what she's going to be wearing to the next fight. But my character is primarily concerned with the size of the axe she will be holding at the time.
Oh, and you can see this is my caster glamour. It's a work in progress too. Same thing with the 2B boots. I have fairy tale heels now. I need to work into it. But yeah, I like this one. It's very simple. Just use the Exarchic set and build off that. It was not very hard to put together. Although I had trouble finding good not pants to annoy Abo.
Not pants.
But
I got stuck in the not pants problem today because I had the Moonwood set on my scholar, and I got the chest piece from the second tier of Pandemonium today when we did our weekly runs, and I equipped that to because it's my second chest piece. So I equipped that to my scholar, but of course it clashes horribly with the rest of the Moonwood set. But the problem is that most of the pant coverage region for the Moonwood set comes from the chest piece, meaning that it's just undies. And there's a big gap that is just undies. So I had to quickly slap another glamour over top, like one of my generic glamours that I use for all purposes, which exists purely for this particular scenario where you equip a new piece of gear and it's just it does horrible things to the rest of the outfit. So that's why I've got the default Scion gear from that Tataru gives you the first time she gives you an outfit, and that's sort of like, oh, I'll quickly slap that over top every time I need to quickly cover up because I am wearing extremely skimpy clothing.
Yes. So yeah. That comprised about 3 days of my week was putting together glamours in Final Fantasy. And there was going to be a Minecraft day, but it turned into a Minecraft hour, and another hour before that getting the server set up. Which, by the way, me setting up the server went something like this. Abo, I tell you what, I'll pay for it. You're going to manage it.
Abo's pretty hardcore at the Minecraft thing, right?
He's pretty hard.
When he really gets into it.
He can be. But he's not. Fern's actually more hardcore when he really, really gets into it.
I think Fern cares more about it, but Abo seems to dump an autistic amount of attention to whatever he's spending time on at the time.
Oh, he will obsessively detail his stuff if he can. He has a lot of, I don't know what I'm building yet, but it will be something big and ridiculous by the time I'm done. And it's always something big and ridiculous.
He needs a job.
But I told him, yeah, you're managing the server. And by that, I meant I gave him access to the server control panel. And just, like, here's the password. Have fun. Because I am not going to do anything to do with managing mod sets, aside from installing the pack with AT Launcher. If AT Launcher can't do it, then we need to pick something simpler.
He'll probably do enough background reading to actually troubleshoot the thing as well.
Yeah, he's all into that pushing that tech support thingamadude.
Why didn't he become a tech guy then? Why he not get job? I don't get it.
I do not know, but yeah.
Well, we'll all be unemployed this time next year anyway because the world will have gone to shit.
Yeah, it's gonna be a disaster.
Everybody will just be trying to make their way through the wasteland. It'll be Mad Max.
Oh, did you pull a dog? Oh, yeah, you did. So I can't actually hear when we're doing Palace of the Dead and have it on high for the show because I have to turn the volume off to keep our sound mixed properly. So if you pull something off screen and I don't see it, I don't know it's been pulled. Oh, frailty, cool.
I don't even remember what frailty is.
It weakens the enemies for 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
That seems kind of trivial.
No, yeah, it is, but it's better than nothing, and it's really handy on higher level floors where stuff can basically two-shot you. It becomes as valuable as like steals. I haven't made it nearly as far in Heaven on High, relatively, as I have in Palace of the Dead. Which is only because I haven't put as much time into it. I put a lot of time into Palace of the Dead.
They announced a new deep dungeon for this expansion? I don't even remember.
They did. We're not sure what they're going to do with it yet. We need to find the horde before we leave this floor. Yeah. It also nerfs their damage resistance, so stuff takes a ton of damage when frailty's up.
See.
So you can shoot through their health way faster. I'm just gonna dip in here and get the chest and leave. Oh.
I thought that bird was aggroed on us, but I think it just flapped its wings at us.
Yeah, they just shoot random projectiles at you.
Too lazy to even properly get aggroed, huh?
Mm-hmm. You know it. And that's about all for my Vidget gaming this week. I wish I had some more Minecraft to talk about, but all I did was fish and dig a hole. And build a noob shack.
It sounds like what you do every time you play Minecraft, though. You fish and dig holes.
I mean, yes, but I had a construction project that I was going to work on. I was going to build this nice big tower and this big lavender field that we got a bunch of new biomes with the mods we have installed. That's the main thing with the mod pack we have. Is a whole bunch of new biomes. and one of them's just this field of colorful flowers, like pink and purple lavender, big stalks. Not big stonks, big stalks.
Oh, stalks.
Did you find that horde yet?
Looking for it.
There we go. Now we can leave. So yeah, that's about all I got for video gaming. Got caught up on Devil is Part-Timer. It's it's a weird season. I like it, but it's a little different from the previous season, mostly because it's just been so long.
Was that this season? Or was that last season?
This season, it's got one more episode to air, but it was last season.
Right.
So got caught up on that, and yeah, it's a big subplot is the hero Amelia and the demon lord Satan accidentally become mother and father to a child. They adopt it by accident, and it follows them around. And so these two people,
a normal child or another weird wacky creature child?
Another weird wacky creature child, but it looks for all intents and purposes like a human toddler and acts like a human toddler. And so the wacky antics that they get up to with this thing following them around and calling them mama and papa in front of a whole bunch of people while they're trying to get like jobs during the summer while McDonald's is busy being renovated is it adds a new layer to the humor that isn't normally there. So it's a different tone with the humor.
As far as anime sitcoms go, having to take care of a child is a pretty standard trope.
Yeah, it's
but particularly for like late 90s, early 2000s stuff, it was very, very common.
Yeah, it's still one I haven't seen very, very much recently. So we're gonna have to cut through this room to get to the other side, aren't we? Yeah, there's basically no way around that. I ain't moving from this spot because there might be a bomb. I'll move back the position I was just in. And yeah, it continues to be funny in general. I like the humor. It's like when the guys go to work at a farm and there's a hot spring at the farm, hot spring hotel at the farm. They don't actually have a hot spring episode though, which surprised me. It's just the hot spring is also there at the farm. And the girls show up with the toddler, and the owner just is like, "You have a kid? Why didn't you tell me you had a kid? We could have made accommodations for it. You're a bad father, Mal." And he's like, "Oh no." It's just it's very normal comedy. But it's very, very strong normal comedy, if you know what I mean. There's nothing in there that's gonna blow your mind or anything, or be anything brand new. But I really enjoy it for a nice bit of remembering how things used to be when it was this as a baseline of funny.
And everything was not an isekai.
Or super woke.
Yeah.
Because
I watched the last last Overlord episode, and I sort of knew roughly how it was going because it's a very predictable show. But what I didn't expect is that it would end with like this weird Disney princess sequence where Rana starts singing.
I see.
I was a little bit startled by this. Like she's a deeply, deeply sociopathic character. Like she's the closest thing to a genuine villain that the show has. Even though the show seems to take a very sort of loose approach to villainy. On account of everybody... Well, it's incorrect to say that everybody is bad, but it's more that everybody's... The extent of most characters' evil is of a very pragmatic sort. It's like whether or not they care about how their actions affect others or not. It's not like... Most of them aren't moustache twirlers, though there are a few sadists in there, but Rena is deeply, deeply sociopathic, and basically this entire arc has been about how her I don't even know how to describe it without going into a huge amount of detail. But basically, her dream is to have a husband who looks only at her and is obsessed only with her, and doesn't think about or care about anything else. That she can keep on a leash, and basically love him in her own way. It would be incorrect to say she's yandere, but she has a lot of similar traits. But she makes Kiyohime seem like an incredibly well-balanced individual.
Yeah, I have not watched beyond the first half of the first season of Overlord, by the way.
But her primary skill is that, number one, she's a super genius, like in terms of social manipulation, and number two, she has basically a perfect mask to society as a whole. Like nobody except the people who are in on it know that she is an unbelievable sociopath with a genius tactical mind. She doesn't do very much with it though, since she's monomaniacally focused on this one thing that she wants, which is this basically this kid that she picked up when she was young who was dying on the streets, and who basically devoted his entire life to her and thanks for doing so. And she's basically decided, okay, so he's now going to be the person that I love forever. Except her method of loving someone forever is to basically chain them down so that they can't ever look at anyone but her. And so she basically engineers the complete demise of her own entire kingdom in order to facilitate and sort of like eternal bliss that, as far as is defined by her mind. So she's a lunatic, but she gets everything that she wants. Like she's a victorious bad guy at the end, and basically assumes her place as one of Albedo's underlings, having been granted an eternal existence as sort of like a lower end demon, and also is able to grant that to the guy that she's basically bound to herself at this point. And so she gets everything she wants, and then the story just sort of like, it finishes out with her functionally doing a Disney princess song about how great she's got it now. This is a very sort of uncanny thing where the bad guy wins and then they sing a Disney princess song about it.
I see.
So sort of the opposite of what you normally see in Disney.
That's a lie I don't see, but
She's super cray-cray. That's the short version.
okay. Yeah, I've been meaning to put Overlord on the put it in the background list, but it keeps slipping my mind.
It does have some funny moments. Like it's not entirely banal. It does have some funny stuff in there. Usually because of the sort of the huge gap between the main character Ainz and his role as an overlord worshipped by his followers and viewed as sort of like an unfathomable godlike genius by all of them, except the fact that he's a regular salary man. And so there's this enormous gap between what everybody thinks he's thinking and what he's actually thinking. And that's where most of the humor comes from. But
it's like the comical version of what happens to Dresden in the Dresden Files.
I don't know.
Where everybody thinks he's this big conniving mastermind and this big bad mofo by the time of the Skinwalker fight, but we get to see inside his head, so we know he's just winging it.
Flying by the seat of his pants at all times. I sort of get what you mean in terms of like especially how the vampire courts view him.
Yeah.
Like they view him as sort of like this incredible threat of sorts. Except that mainly he burns down the Red Court's property by accident.
They just happen to pick a bad target and get Dresden on.
Yeah, stuff just tends to burn down around him. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep. Oh, that's right. I did listen to an audiobook 2 weeks ago and totally forgot about it. There is a new Dresden Files. Kind of. It's a novella. It's not a short story, but a novella that's being treated as 17.5 called The Law. And I think
So hold on, just before we get into that, is he back on like a normal person writing schedule now that his whole divorce situation seems to have blown over?
he got divorced again.
Again?
Again.
What is wrong with him?
Well, have you seen his hair recently?
No. I don't look at pictures of authors as a general rule.
It's blue.
Oh.
But yeah, that's what's wrong with him. And it seems like this was a cue from his new cause thought wife that dumped him like within 2 years.
Is he going to get rid of the blue hair then?
I don't know. He won't. He will not talk about his personal life. This is one thing you don't have to stack up for that.
But it says stack up. I'm not very good at disobeying signs.
But yeah, Butcher has had more problems. But I mean, at this point, I just take it as it goes. At least this time, he doesn't seem as broken up about it. Like he's gone through this already. Finally,
maybe he'd already figured out that he'd made a terrible decision.
So he probably set something up so that she didn't get everything in the alimony check.
Yeah, well, I would hope that he'd at least have learned that lesson by now.
Yeah, because the reason there was a 5-year gap was they managed to weasel it out of him at a panel was alimony. Basically, for 5 years, his old ex-wife would get half of whatever any Dresden book made. So that was the reason for the big gap and why we got Aeronaut's Windlass instead. And he has said the next book will be Aeronaut's Windlass 2 that he wants to do, but and then it'll be Dresden 18. But in the interim, he has written Dresden 17.5, which is a full novella, at least, to tide us over, which is nice. It means he's not committed to the super gap like he was before. And he's...
Yeah, I still haven't read Peace Talks. I think Skin Game was the last one that I...
Yeah. And oh boy, read Peace Talks and Battleground back to back, otherwise Peace Talks is going to kill you.
Well, I mean, that's sort of why I haven't continued reading them, is because it's like I don't really know where we stand now. I don't really want to get to the end of the you know, Peace Talks +1 and then realize, oh no, now I'm with everybody else and I have to wait for eternity for the next part of the story.
Yeah. So we do seem to be having something of a release. This novella was 2.5 hours as an audiobook. So much more than a short story, but nowhere near a full book. For reference, usual Dresden Files books these days run about 12 hours.
Do they make what's her name? I don't remember what the name is. His kid with Lash into a character? Or is this just sort of like a plot MacGuffin?
She has started to become a character, and he has a lot of wants to do. And one of his wants to do is a spin-off series with Mouse, Maggie, and Bonea, as they're calling her. Because, you know, she also has to have a house to live in. And she gets the skull that he made for Bob as a backup in Cold Days.
Because I totally shipped Harry with Lash, like, and then she disappeared from the plot.
Yeah, they do bring up this was a significant event. Oh well,
Harry gonna die.
Yep. Goodbye, Floor. Well, I guess we can just move on. Oh, we got a... Holy crap.
What?
We got an Elder Magicite.
What's that?
It insta-kills a boss.
Cool. Which is the most dickish boss?
The last boss.
Okay, so I guess that's what we're holding it for.
Yeah, we're not going to make it past the 70s. The 70s or the 80s bought me every single time. But that boss is a right dickhead. I've gotten to him once. The floor 90 boss. And he is just a... Oh boy, that boy's a monster. He's, Xerxes from the end of Circus Tower.
Zande.
Yeah, Zande. Why'd I call him Xerxes?
I don't know.
But he has all his moves are jacked up to have different effects and be much, much more lethal. But they have
Not hard to be much more lethal than a Circus Tower boss.
Yeah, his quaggas will now guarantee a hit and do percentage damage, and do it off of your max HP. And he rotates quagga hits that shuffle around the arena. And they go in a very specific pattern, and you need to know where to stand to dodge them. It's a mess, and he's got a billion other like look away, dodge, and normal yuck mechanics you need to look out for. He's a real bugbear, and all of this comes together and in fast sequence right out the gate. I actually forget what the floor boss is for this floor set. I don't remember it being too bad though. Floor 50 is where things start to get a little rocky, and once we beat the floor boss, we can call my week there, and we can move on to stuff we have to actually look at, and we'll just hang out in the exit room for a few minutes while we go through emails and news. Oh, this guy's easy. Just don't put your back to any of the dudelets he spawns, and don't stand in yuck. That's it. That's literally it. This is the most free boss in here. Like the frickin' guy that pulls you in and pushes you back does more than this guy does. Little gas cloud, mustache ass looking motherfucker. Yeah, don't get knocked into the little dudes. It doesn't even matter. They blow up in time, so you can't even get hit by them. What is this little mustache, cloudy slime ball?
Mustar.
Whenever I see this model, I think of Cloudy and Sheep Cloud from Yu-Gi-Oh!
What?
It's just a cloud.
I see. That's not really true. I don't see it all.
It's a cloud with sheep horns. Think Watame if she was a cloud. So yeah, this is Heaven on High is a interesting set in that overall it is easier than Palace of the Dead because it doesn't have the last 50 floors of Palace of the Dead, which are obscenely hard, especially to solo. And it has fewer floors in general, but the last few floors ramp in difficulty so hard it's very easy to get thrown off your game. So we can just kind of hang out in this room and call my week there. I've already stretched it as long as I can. Did rewatch season 1 of the Pinecone anime as well, just because I like the Pinecone anime. It's done by the director of Konosuba. There's always good moments, and it has the best
facial expressions.
Yes, it has the best facial expressions of.
It's a GIF gold mine.
Yeah, just if you don't believe us, click on the GIF tab in Discord, and just type in Princess Connect. And you will see Carol getting her neck snapped, and Kokoro doing her rappy butt face, and all kinds of other wonderful, horrified, and dying faces for reaction GIFs. There's no anime that has produced as many reaction faces as the Pinecone anime. I found a compilation of all the times Kokoro's face does the OXO rappy butt face. It goes on for quite a while. She makes that face a lot. So yeah, we have an email. I've been rambling for a while. You want to get it? I posted it in
Okay.
show hosts.
Open it on the monitor that will allow me to actually speak into the microphone at the same time. Dear No Excuses, yet another email that's a week late because I was working on Saturday and my brain was in the "it's Friday, I'll send the email tomorrow" mode. I might be the race realist listener who has this inkling of the sweat glands of a Zulu might just be different to that of an Inuit, but I'm not the one playing the Bantu breeding clone of Universal Paperclips. Also, Ari, girls don't like animal men and were men, they like animals. As Short Fat Otaku discovered when he did the dog pill video. Something that will haunt him and us forever, despite the video being nuked from YouTube.
I'm not a fan of that guy.
I haven't consumed any of his content. So I got back to into playing Monster Hunter, both Rise and World. Finally remembered that, oh right, there are probably Hungarians playing this. Around 500 hours in. Apparently the Monster Hunter Hungary Discord is deader than disco. Everyone is waiting for the next mainline game. I did by chance, however, bump into a bunch of Huns on World, so playing with them. Recently did Ice Ice Dragon, Angi no Gigante, followed by This Is Not Even My Final Form, and now I'm hanging out in the new zone. In Rise, I've just unlocked Master Rank 4, and the new zone with the castle ruins and the very foreboding altar gave me some serious Dark Souls vibes. Also, I like that Rise gives me a few gap closes as Gunlance. Swapped charged shelling to rocket propulsion as soon as I could. Wouldn't be a Serethus email without mentioning boomer shooters, right? Well, I haven't found anything worthwhile in Doom, but I did buy Hrot, which Soviet Quake / Chasm, Dread Templar, and Wrath Aeon of Ruin. These two I can't come up with a witty nickname because they seem very generic. In fact, if you watch the Realms Deep stuff on Steam, you would have a deluge of boomer shooters. So many I fear they will drown each other out. Still, special shout out goes to Celico. What I found worthwhile, however, was stuff for blood. As usual, the combat is garbage. Blood is carried by atmosphere. First was Bloodlines, Out of the Grave. Starts out kinda tedious, but by the second episode things go off the rails. Instead of gothic asylums, you end up in maps inspired by, say, silent films, all black and white of course, or famous paintings like the Melty Clock one. I think the map set is based on the writings of an author going crazy and getting sucked into his work while writing. However, what really blew my mind was trauma therapy. While Blood Death Wish is my absolute favourite bit of content when it comes to pure mapping spectacle, this includes everything from Doom, Duke, Half-Life, even Black Mesa itself. Trauma therapy comes a very close second. Diving out of an airplane into a volcano? Sure. Fighting in a Zeppelin? Not only the passenger and crew quarters, but inside the balloon itself. Too bad the combat is still only blood levels. I presume that's the end of the email because also you screen capped.
Oh yeah, it said Serethus at the end. I forgot to cap his signature.
And then had a link to the Short Fat Otaku video, which I have not watched and I am too scared to.
I do not like Short Fat Otaku. Thank you for the email, Serethus. But I do not like Short Fat Otaku. He has gotten even worse, the few clips I've seen of him that go around, than...
well, you say worse, but I don't have any context to how he was before, so it means nothing to me.
He's a enlightened centrist type that will constantly talk about the virtues of, well, it comes from both sides.
Both sidesist, huh?
Yeah, he's one of them. Worse than Beanie Man about it, too. And he's...
Well, Beanie Man is pretty squealy a conservative now, even if he's in denial.
Yeah, and he's an election acceptor. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, that's basically, for most people on the internet, that's the same as... if you're not actually a left-winger, that's the same as being a sellout, because the reason people accept the election online is to not get banned.
Yeah. So, you know where we stand on that, even though I've been very careful not to...
not to say anything which could call into question the perfectly legitimate election of the most popular United States president of all time.
More popular than a black man in Chicago. So,
Never mind, all of those videos which have been circulating, even more of them recently, of him on stage just sort of wandering around like he doesn't know what he's doing or where he is.
Remind me after the show, and I will find the compilation called The Wandering. It was just...
if it was a less evil person, I would feel bad at being amused because he is clearly senile. And so deep into neurodegeneration that he has no business being outside of a full-time care home.
Yeah. So, you guys get to watch my scantily clad nubile body dance for you while we read stuff. In Final Fantasy, because I don't have anything better to put on the screen. Just by the way, in case you're wondering why there's a half-naked cat girl dancing.
I don't have any sleepwear, so I can't join you.
See, I told you to have a pair of emergency sleepwear on hand. It's just for times like this. You never know when you're gonna need it. So, you can watch my busty chest and juicy thighs dance for you while we continue to go through this email. Short Fat Otaku. Yeah, I've really don't like the guy. Every clip I've seen of him, I haven't watched a full thing of his in eons, and did not watch him for more than like a couple full videos before I decided he wasn't worth watching. Several, probably about a year ago now, because he's just, I can't stand these people that don't take a side. That's not a virtue to me. That's a character failing if you're unable to form some kind of opinion on your own about something and decide that one side is right and one side is not, or come up with your own correct opinion. If you just take it comes from both sides and both sides make good. That's not a position I care about. I do not give a crap about that. That you are useless. You are effectively saying nothing. So that's where I stand on him. So World and Rise. I considered holding this for Fern to be here because he's the Monhunt expert. But yeah, I came back into World recently ish before Rise hit to get back into the Monster Hunter groove, and I played through to the end game. I didn't beat the very last boss, Safijiva, but I beat everything else. And yeah, it's a good time. World's still really good, and we've talked ad nauseum about our what we like and dislike about Rise. So I don't know if we can add more to that. Pickle.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still here. I just don't. I feel guilty every time I think about Monster Hunter, because I kind of want to play it, but I also kind of want to play FF. And if people are always like, "Oh, you shouldn't be a mono game. You should play lots of different games." I'm like, I don't have time to play lots of different games. What are you talking about?
Like, I only have time to commit to like one game at a time and play one game a little bit, or play one single player game on and off. And even then, when I was doing my Devil May Cry grind, I cut Final Fantasy out to make room for it. Like, it takes a lot of time to do that kind of thing. And Monster Hunter is a very, very grindy, time-demanding game. Especially with the new weapon system they got going on, with the RNG elements to it. Oh, good lord, you'll be there for forever. And we can't cheat because we're on Switch. So, let's see. I don't know anything about the boomer shooters he's brought up.
Yeah, I used to play Blood when I was young, but the combat is pretty naff, and the enemy design was also really in the default one. Like, everything moved in extremely wooden fashion, even by boomer shooter standards. But I think the weapons were just kind of weird. Actually, a lot of them, come to think of it, there was not very good balance between them, not very good progression either. But it was novel. It was certainly novel. But you did very much play it because the levels were more interesting than most of the ones that you saw in other shooters at the time. I mean, I suppose its direct competitor chronologically would have been Shadow Warrior, the original, which never really took off that much. I guess because it was just kind of cringe. Because it was very Americans trying to do East Asian stuff, and it just ended up being a bit cringe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember anything about the mechanics really, but it was one of the sort of the trifecta of the trifecta of games using the build engine were Duke 3D, Blood, and Shadow Warrior. They were all very, 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 very structurally similar. But Duke Nukem 3D was the only one that really had a big effect, probably because it was the one that really sold the build engine, and the other ones that were sort of the clones that were the offshoots, never really made much of an impact. And we don't talk about Redneck Rampage. You ever play that, Ari?
No,
Don't.
I have heard
It's
of it.
quite bad. It's quite bad.
I have heard
And
of it.
I'm
But
sure
no.
it had a significant influence on a lot of people's view of the South.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm a little worried it might be too accurate. So yeah, there is that. And let's see. Thank you for the email, Zarathus. I don't really have anything else to add to it, other than my little diatribe about how I really don't like short fat otaku. So yeah, let's see. We have a little bit of news we can go through. I forgot to stick one in here, and I can go ahead and do that one since I forgot to put it in the news list, if you want. Or we can jump into one that you have a particular affinity for.
I don't think I've got any strong affinity for any of them. I just posted a few random things that I saw, that was all.
Okay. So, and if you're wondering why the frame rate keeps changing, because when I tab out of the game, my frame rate drops to 30, and I'm too lazy to change it. There's an option for it somewhere in the settings, but I can't be bothered to go find it right now. So yeah. First up, Trails from Zero launched. And I did a whole lot of research before making this purchase. So, first off, I wanted to know what happened to Geofront and how did their reputation go from great to bruh moment is in the game. Well, turns out they had translated a few projects before under a different name, and they had done a fairly solid direct translation. I don't remember what game it was off the top of my head. And people really liked it, and they got it out in a high detail, timely manner with its own separate special client to run in, and it was all very nice. They did a similar thing for Trails from Zero for as far as the technical work. However, they brought in a bunch of what I'll call California hires onto the team. And they had ideas about the script, and they did what Californians always do. And they made memes by rewriting the script in their vision with
What could possibly go wrong?
with such wonderful bits of dialogue as "that was a bruh moment," replacing whatever he said originally in a specific point, and several other things. Right away, the very first forum thread on the Steam page, I meant to screenshot it and forgot, I meant to go look for it, was, "Is bruh moment still in the game?" And the first response was, "It's been removed," as has all the other Geofront additions. So, looks like a pruning team went through and corrected the California add-ins to the script, and they went through and they changed the very odd decision of keeping things inconsistent with the universe by using the direct, literal Japanese translation instead of what we've used for now, the Cold Steel and the Trails in the Sky series for all the terminology in the universe. A bunch of things were changed. I forget what all off the top of my head, but it was quite a bit of stuff. And so yeah, that all has been fixed, apparently. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it, but I do not have time to sit down and devote to a single-player game right now because I'm heading into hell time at work. You are getting Vol's fireworks from his dancer while we dance on the screen. So, yeah, that's just a little update I wanted to point out. So it is safe for now, although Nisa has been being Nisa and going ham with takedown notices on a whole bunch of fan projects that were going on for the sequel, Trails from Azure, and from Kuro no Kiseki, and they are unfortunately also being incredibly slow with Kuro no Kiseki, and we do not have even our estimated release window. So, looks like we're hanging on for a while. and we have to deal with Nisa. So that's your Trails series update for the state of the nation on the way things go. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that or not. If not, we can move on.
I don't really know a great deal about it, to be honest. But yeah, the whole localization scene has just become complete and utter cancer, and I'm starting to wonder if there's even really any way of avoiding it. It seems like that's just the way things will always end up going.
Yeah, I will tolerate. I've said many times I can tolerate that if you change the order of sentences in a paragraph to better flow in English, I can, or even the ordering of paragraphs to better flow in English. But when you change content is where I draw the line. So yeah. All right. You want to pick a topic for the next one?
I guess we will finally we'll probably manage to get a few more of these. I feel like we've done this story many times in the past because it's sort of, in a way, it keeps happening. But Stadia's got an official shutdown date now. January 18th, 2023.
Yep, it's RIP. But that's not the real surprising part about this news.
Yeah, the strange part is that they did the right thing and they're just going to refund everything.
Now, what this tells me is I bet you dollars to donuts their sales reports were actually way higher than what their actual sales were. Ooh, I peaked bad there. Oops, sorry about that, folks. I'll move the mic back a little bit.
I mean, Google are evil. There's no question about it. So it is sort of surprising that they bothered to do something that isn't evil. But I suppose that if they were not evil, it would make sense to do this because everything that was purchased from them in regards to Stadia was purchased on the sort of going concern assumption that Stadia would continue to exist into the future. And I think that the best thing that comes out of it is that now we've got a case study of a business that sold licenses for games that when it shut down, it refunded the money spent.
And it was Google. While not necessarily a big deal to other people in the scene, to the customer, that's a big deal. Because Google is evil, and most people by now should know Google is evil.
Yeah, there's always been this sort of hanging worry about ownership and game preservation and that sort of thing because of the way that these days mostly we just buy licenses. We don't buy video games because you can't play video games off of the disc anymore. And that's not really a thing. You need to be connected to their server and be authenticated and so on and so forth.
I know what all their TOS say. I also know what I'm going to do if they ever revoke those licenses and they're not taking my product away.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably what keeps them from actually doing it is that they know that the people involved in the technology probably know this, but they don't know if the bean counters understand because bean counters never seem to understand anything. Is that at the moment that a major company decides to renege on their product license leases, you're going to be issuing the new age of pirates, basically, because that will become a cultural touchstone again. They've finally managed to erode most piracy. I'm sure there are people that still pirate every game they play.
But that number is astonishingly low.
That was what everybody did when I was in school, before Steam was a thing, because Steam was just a launcher for Half-Life and Team Fortress.
Yeah, it was that,
when I was in school.
It was that thing you played, Team Fortress. My original Steam account was borrowed from a friend to play Team Fortress, the original on.
But, yeah, so I think that it's interesting that they've sort of staked out this ground, if nothing else. And I'm impressed that they were willing to do this. It's good PR for them, of course, and they need whatever good PR they can get after consigning yet another major product to the Google graveyard.
I noticed that they refunded stuff, unlike Audible, who reneged some of my licenses, and that them credits just gone.
That is how it be.
Do not
That
give
is
Audible
how
your
they
money.
does things. But yeah, there's not really a great deal to say about that because it's certainly something that we have been aware of and we've reported on before. The stadium got closer and closer, and then it was decided to exit. Now it's got a date. I guess our last time that we do a story on it will be when it finally shuts down and ceases to exist. But it does say a certain amount about the capacity to run a streaming service as well. Like, quite aside from everything else, I think that people don't actually want a streaming service to be their main thing. It's just not the same as saying that people won't stream game, because people do stream game if they happen to be in a place where it's a amenable method of playing and they don't have the grunt on their machine to do it. And there's certainly been other streaming services in the past that, up until they were destroyed by various other, usually commercial interests, that performed relatively well. But I don't think that most gamers want that to be their primary platform. That's not a thing. I think most gamers want it as an auxiliary to another existing platform most of the time. And they just want to be able to be free to be more discerning about the way they purchase their games. Because there are some games, like games that are just not that important to you, you're usually happy to stream. And you'll just say, oh, well, this game is available, I guess I'll stream it and we'll see how it goes. Much like you tend to see on services like the one that Sony runs for PlayStation. Like, that's actually reasonable because, oh, well, that makes games available, so might as well try them.
That's how I took. That's how I took Abo through Halo 5. Was I did not want this crap on my hard drive, so we just streamed it.
That's not what Google was doing, though. Google were trying to displace the conventional platform with a streaming platform and forcing people to purchase games on that platform as though they were purchasing them on another extant platform. And there's not really any reason to do so. Like, you can, but why? Like, what possible benefit could there be? There really isn't one. If you're going to buy a console anyway, the only benefit that you're bringing to the table is, oh, well, this is slightly cheaper than another console. In some cases, a lot cheaper, especially considering what the price of the current generation is. But nevertheless, I guess it's technically free now since everybody's going to get it refunded. But yeah, it was a bad idea, and they were told it was a bad idea. They must have known it was a bad idea because they started winding it down pretty quickly. I'm just sort of a bit incredulous that it got as far as it did, because I think that this is sort of like the situation where a 12-year-old could tell you it was dumb.
Yeah, this would not pass the 12-year-old test.
It's not. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there are other things where I can sort of understand how they got carried away with the technology, like the Google Glass, for instance. That's tech geeks who want to live in the future and have head-up display.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, it's like you really needed to have not a 12-year-old who would also think it was cool, but a boomer who will not see it as cool, but will see it as, so what you're saying is you're going to have a camera attached to your head and film everybody around you all the time and think that that's not an invasion of privacy. Like, because I think that as far as Google's concerned, it needs not only 12-year-olds but also boomers to tell them whether or not something is acceptable.
Yeah. But yeah, it's gone the way of literally every Google project except for Drive and Docs.
Well, I don't know if they're still doing development on those, because they still seem just as bad now as they ever were.
No, but they took off and are used by many industries.
Yeah. But usually, I don't know if that's because Google have done a good job of developing them. I think that's because the alternatives are hideous.
The alternatives are worse, and Google got in pretty early.
The alternative is a subscription service. That's the real.
Yeah, the alternative costs money.
Yeah, it's not just that it costs money, because if Microsoft Office was a reasonably priced software package, I would just buy it, just to have it there so I can open things.
Oh, I hate that I have to keep a sub on it for work because it's another thing to track on the credit card.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if it was a package that I could buy even if I had to buy it again every few years or so, I probably wouldn't mind. Like the old model, where they just released a new version every year, and you kind of really only needed to buy the new version every 4 or 5 years at most.
Yeah, you could coast on Word 97 all the way until like they added the ribbon.
Like you can get away with it. And I would actually be quite happy to put money in their coffers for that, because oh well, you've produced a product and it does what I want. It's got patches to support it, and everybody will have it because it's a reasonably priced uh, software package for the essentials. I don't necessarily need Access and Visio, but having Word and Excel
But
is handy.
but oh boy, when you install it, it installs everything, and you try to kick some pieces off, it's going to remind you you can reinstall them whenever you want every time you open it up.
But yeah, the whole subscription thing though is a bridge too far, because that's just another one of those you don't actually own it things. You can't do what you want with it, and they can take it away at any time, and they can do. There's no reason to believe they can't see everything that you're doing, since you have to be connected to use the sodding thing. Like there's a lot of problems with it, and that's largely what drives the Google Drive entity's popularity, in my opinion, is that people would just rather not be hitched up to that wagon if they can get away with it.
And
And
also,
the only reason that the current model for Microsoft Office even works, in my opinion, is that because they got people in on it back when it was a normal software package,
yeah,
and people just got used to the idea of Microsoft Office. It's sort of like how if you go to McDonald's, they don't make your food until you order it, right? But that wasn't how it always was, if you recall.
yeah.
Because they got people into buying McDonald's on the premise that it was fast food. And people still think of it as fast food, but it is now slow food.
It's still relatively quick here, but yeah, it's a pain in
Well,
the
it's
butt.
not it's not what it was before. What it was before is that they would make things at a fixed rate during peak and off-peak times. They would dispose of everything which got too old.
And they would put
And
it on a heater until somebody was ready to have a burger, and they'd just
yeah,
slap it together
and
and give it to you.
no, they wouldn't slap it together. It was already together. Like everything was already packaged up and ready to go. If you bought something, they would literally take it off the shelf and put it on the tray in front of you, and you would buy your food and go immediately. That's how it was when I was growing up, and that is in fact how it was in their business model. But the whole point of that business model was, we are going to sacrifice waste up front to be really, really fast, and then they revised that back to minimize the waste once people had just gotten used to the idea of getting McDonald's.
Yeah, and
So now it's an inferior service.
the other problem, the Microsoft product specifically, is, have you tried to use the new Microsoft Word?
How would I?
It is
Like nobody has it.
Awful. Like, it is. They have over-engineered it with so many auto-helping pieces of garbage that are obtuse to turn off. It is the biggest pain in the rear, because
The Clippy is now baked into everything.
like, if you push, paragraphs now have collapsible menus, and you can't make them go away, and they'll just be there every time you're hovering over a paragraph. And
Menu for what?
to do indent spacing, or to collapse the paragraph if you don't want to see it right now.
There are buttons for that on the ribbon, though.
Yeah, but hiding it now is impossible. It's always there.
I don't want to hide my paragraphs either. Like, I typed them because I want to see them.
Yeah, it's like, it applies headings arbitrarily now if you make anything bold. I cannot find how to turn that option off. And this makes everything under the heading collapsible and screws up the spacing for everything beneath it and above it.
This sounds like a development team with way too much time on their hands.
Yeah,
because nobody wants those features.
It is a nightmare, and I will use Google Docs every single time over it, just because Word is a giant pain in the rear.
Literally nobody wants interactable functions in their Word document, because they're going to export it as a PDF.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody supplies a Word document to someone else, especially a new fancy full-featured one, because nobody will have that version of the software. It's a very dumb idea. But yeah, so Office has just descended into stupidity, and that's what drives Google's success with its own offerings. Not that those offerings are actually good. But the advantage of those offerings is that, to the extent that they work, they are not offering things that are insane. So most people can get done what they want rather than being interfered with by being offered a whole bunch of stuff they don't want. So
Yeah.
yeah. There's not really much else to say on the Stadia thing. Good on Google for doing the right thing and giving people back their money because they took it on a promises that they couldn't live up to.
Hey, you hear
Um,
that, Audible? You know what you should do if you take away somebody's product? You should.
who owns Audible? Bezos?
Yeah, Bezos. It's owned by
Yeah, I
Amazon.
mean, he's pretty evil as well. So
So, yeah, don't buy Audible. Don't buy Google either. They still haven't redeemed themselves, but at least they did the right thing this time.
yeah, they need to. They need to. I think stop trying to diversify so aggressively and focus on doing things that people actually want. Like,
They have.
for instance, making their algorithm not a brainwashing engine
Yeah.
and not stealing people's information and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, you focus on that, and you can sell yourself with universal appeal if you point out all of the things that everybody in that space is doing now and prove that you're not doing them anymore.
I'm just going to throw it out there. You can literally mod Brave to look just like Chrome if you still use Chrome.
I mean, all you really need to do, Google, is not be evil. Remember, once upon a time,
Also,
you had that motto.
Brave has Chromium built into it with the guts ripped out and changed around a bit, but all the mods and add-ons for Google Chrome still work on Brave. Just saying.
I'm just using Edge, like I can't get rid of it, so I might as well learn to live with it.
I use it as the backup for the show accounts that I sign into, but it's owned by Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft already sees everything I do, but you mean no need to help them out by making it even easier. So
I use Brave on my phone. I use Brave on my phone. I used to use Pale Moon on my PC, but then they had a memory leak that they didn't seem to be able to get rid of.
Yeah, and then I have to use Chrome for work, so I have my work Chrome account, and I still have my Chrome account that I keep at work as well, because I don't feel like switching between browsers a lot when I need to have two browsers open. But for at-home stuff, it's all Brave all the way. And the only reason I need to use Chrome for work is because in Google Docs, you can't use some shortcut functions unless you have you're opening it in Chrome. They're still picky about that. So yeah, that's Stadia.
Yeah, what else have we got?
Well, let's see here. One of the big things we got was this one's personal to me because I used to really love this visual novel. Was Chaos Head Noah was going to come out on Steam, and we've been waiting for a Western release proper on PC for Noah forever. It's been relegated to the dregs of the Xbox 360 forever, and Steam just told Spike Chunsoft no. And this basically comes down to they got in their content curation check the anti-anime group. And here's the thing about Spike Chunsoft PC and most visual novels that were big back in the day PC releases. They have the sexual content cut out. You can go get add-ons if you want to add it back in, but it's all cut out completely. And essentially because the girls looked young, they and by young I don't mean like lolly young. I mean like high schooler, adult high schooler, almost out of high school young. And they were getting put into situations that could lead to a sexual encounter. This was enough to warrant a ban on Steam. Despite the fact that if you turn off your content filter, you get porn games for days.
Yeah, I don't understand the logic of that, really. Like, they were willing to let such unspeakable filth onto their platform that I don't understand why they would suddenly decide, oh, but this particular filth we don't want.
there has got to be some anti official anime people at Steam that just look for any reason to not let these older VNs on, because it's not the only one this has happened to. Like, Mao managed to slip by early, which I'm glad did. And Mao actually works better with the scenes only implied, so you don't need to add him back in. He is very much a Nasu situation with that VN, where the guy...
There's certain information about mollusks that you don't want.
Yeah, they were in there because it's a thing you just did at the time, and Chaos Head Noah was very much the same way. It's in there because at the time, people didn't think you could sell a VN without it. But as time has gone on, that has passed, but and they have cut it from this Steam release, or it was going to be cut, and that didn't matter. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain. I'm very unfortunate, because Chaos Head is a series. It's the start of the Science Adventure series, which has a mixed entry setup, but I think Chaos Head is, for its time especially, was very unique. It played with an idea that was very popular at the time in pseudoscience, where, because all science adventure is based on weird pseudoscience stuff, and just what if this was actually true? And the deal with Chaos Head was, what if two people observe the same thing, but that thing isn't real? Does it then become real? Does your delusion become reality? If two people have the same delusion? Does that make it manifest in reality? And the answer in the Chaos Head universe is yes, it does. So, if you can have somebody project their delusion onto other people nearby them, they can manifest their insanity as reality.
So this is like the Iron Man version of the observer effect.
Yeah, it is any batshit thing you can imagine, including like having somebody melt into a puddle of goo. If you can project that onto another observer, and the person that originally projected it genuinely sees it and believes it, that delusion becomes reality. So it was a very, very novel, fun little idea that went some really dark places in the story, because you can imagine what you can do with this that's just horrifying, and they go all the way. And I used to love this VN because it was so out there and, cool for the time. It was edgy not edgy, it was dark without being too edgy about it, and it had a really cool, unique concept for the way its power system worked. And I really, really loved it. It used to be my favorite VN before I started reading a few more of them. Way early on. We're talking like back in my college days. So, now it's probably, maybe makes the top 10. I've read quite a few since then. But I would still like it to exist, because I do remember it fondly, just for enjoying it when I was younger, and when, ideas that it put forward were still novel. It does a whole lot of stuff with messing with the protagonist and your perception and point of view. Not quite to the levels of like Ever 17, but still out there. I don't want to spoil it for people that actually want to go read it, and in case it does actually get a release somewhere. But yeah, you're playing all kinds of light effects on this dancing stage, aren't you? What are you doing over there?
Huh?
What are you casting? Oh, okay. Because that had a really cool dance stage effect to it, whatever you just cast.
It was, whatchamacallit, Asylum.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. But yeah, I liked Chaos Head. It was the introduction to all these weird concepts that would become commonplace and played out as time went on in the Science Adventure series, but for being the first one to do it, it had a place in history, and now it's unfortunately not getting a Steam release for seemingly arbitrary reasons.
Yep. Yeah. It's one of those ones that I'll never get round to reading it, so I kind of wish that they just hadn't made such a bad anime. But
don't watch the anime. It's really bad. It's really, really, really bad. Do
they attempt to tell the same story?
They hit the ending plot beat, and they start the beginning plot beat, and everything else is just intermittent activities that can happen on miscellaneous routes strung together to attempt to make something coherent and fails miserably.
So worse than Dean Stay Night.
Yeah. Way worse. And if you double hate yourself, watch the dub. It's one of them dubs. You know, the ones that I can't defend. And I like dubs, for the most part. Like, there's no saving this one. Like, I got nothing. It's bad. Only watch if you really hate yourself. So yeah, it's a interesting VN. I recommend checking out if you got the time for it. I have a dance partner now, so I guess Celine's gonna dance with me, or is that Eos?
It's Eos.
And yeah, that's all I got for Chaos Head. Just sad, as a certain band Twitter personality would say, sad. All right, so you want to grab the next one?
What's next on the list? There've been quite a few game announcements over the course of the past few days, but most of them are not particularly interesting. One that I did sort of catch my eye is that EA via Koei Tecmo have decided that they want to create a competitor to Monster Hunter, and so they are creating this game called Wild Hearts, which looks very, very, very Monster Hunter, except that I guess it doesn't have a lot of the storied history of Monster Hunter, so as a result they can do some pretty ambitious things with it. So while it ostensibly looks very Monster Hunter, they've also got this sort of like a core mechanic seems to be creating objects to help you fight monsters. Just basically, essentially pulling them out of nowhere, much in the way that Pelicos tend to with their gear. But yeah, so it looks very swanky. I'll certainly say that. But it does look just like Monster Hunter. It seemed to be going for a more Eastern centric vibe with it, but it basically does look like if it had been called, oh well, this is next gen Monster Hunter, so this is just Monster Hunter 6 or whatever, like I probably would have believed them.
Yeah, the monster designs looked okay, but when it comes to these type of games, it's all about how they feel to play, and that's something that you can't.
100% of their feel. Like anybody who played, what was that free one?
There's the Lego one, not the Lego one, but the weird looking one.
You're talking about
the one that made me think of Legos whenever I saw it. The weird one with the cell shading art style to it.
Yeah, Dauntless.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, now that felt really flimsy to me. There was no weight to anything. It was all super floaty, and I didn't like it at all. I didn't feel like anything I did had any impact to it.
I never played that one. The comparisons I have are God Eater 3 specifically. That one was floaty as well, but they still managed to make your weapons bite when they connected. So I could see how people would like that style if they were used to it.
Yeah, the amount of the like with Dauntless, I don't really know how quite to describe it. It had this sort of the feeling of connecting with your weapon on a monster was sort of like at the level of World of Warcraft, not at the level of Monster Hunter.
So like whacking something with a wiffle ball bat?
Yeah, like it's like, oh well, your weapon intersected with the enemy model. Yes, that is a thing that happened. And because knockdowns were not very common thing, like you didn't have any real feeling that you were doing anything other than decreasing the number of hit points the monster had.
Yeah. God Eater relies on knockaways more than knockdowns, but oh man, we getting that Seraph booty as a dance partner now. Your fairy's butt has just been on screen in center frame like the entire time, by the way.
Well, I'm not looking at what I'm not looking at really at what the because she's going to face the direction that I face since she's a projectile essentially. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a way that I can actually do anything about that.
She's just got been wiggling her booty. That's okay.
That whole auto-facing thing, you know.
That's okay. All the people that like the front of their women can get my cat girl, and all the people that like the back of their ladies can get your fairy's butt.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So this one, it will come down to the feel of it, but if they are, and it is very obvious that they are trying to be Monster Hunter. Like they haven't made any incredibly cringy announcements about it being a free-to-play game, which is always what I dread. They go, oh no, a game is going to be free-to-play.
Yeah.
Because they haven't made that announcement, they will obviously be looking very, very hard at Monster Hunter and what people like about it, how people interact with it, how people feel about what they can and can't do. Like, if they are going to so obviously be taking the bull by the horns, they will definitely be trying to communicate at least the same degree of feel for, the weight of combat. And like Monster Hunter has my preferred combat. Like I like the feel of Monster Hunter combat ahead of things like Devil May Cry, ahead of things like Elden Ring. It's my favorite. That sort of, and I play very heavy weapons as well. I play heavy bowgun and greatsword primarily, because I like the sort of like really ponderous thudding weight that the really heavy weapons have.
The momentum carrying weapons.
Huge monster. Yeah, the like when I play Devil May Cry, I used like what was it, Muramasa? I use the fist weapons generally.
Balrog, and that's DMC 5. Gilgamesh for 4.
Yeah, and Beowulf.
Yeah, Beowulf in 3.
Yeah, I use the fist weapons because they have that same sort of gravity to them. The same sort of every hit you make has a lot of weight behind it.
You want to add that weight to every weapon in the game? Here's what you do. You get MLG Pro and you go research Donguri videos and you learn how to guard fly with Dante. And that lets you carry momentum from any attack into any other attack. And it's a very frame precise trick that you have to learn how to do while in the air. But you can do it with like real impact. And you can carry the momentum from a real impact going up, reverse it, and then bring it back down in a Helmbreaker at double speed with double the hit effects.
You seem very excited by this.
It is a very cool bit of tech if you see like the really pro stuff you could do with it.
Yeah,
Seraph booty.
It's very, very, very much to do with the feel of the thing, and I hope that they are going to be paying a great deal of attention to that. The reason to fear that they won't is the idea that they will get very tied up in their gimmick, that their gimmick of the like structure construction thing that they're doing, that will be the wire bug and will act counter to the importance of conventional combat. Because it's very, very obvious to me, anyway, and this is just my opinion as a scrub tier player of Monster Hunter, that I feel like the very presence of the wire bug undermines the art of combat on foot.
Yeah, it really, yeah. I've given my opinion on it over and over again. I just don't like it.
But that's the concern with, if your gimmick takes over the gameplay, if that becomes everything, if it becomes the clutch claw, if it becomes the wire bug, everything starts to orbit around it. First of all, you will get degenerate gameplay, and second of all, you will lose, because this is their first iteration. They don't have any momentum to ride. They will lose the focus on the actual gameplay, and having the sheer weight of that gameplay, the sort of adrenaline of raw head-to-head combat is the thing that you want to really be trading on. Like, Monster Hunter can do these gimmicks now, can try out all these things, because at its core, you've got the long and storied history of butting heads with a huge monster while carrying a big sword or whatever. That's what lies at the heart of Monster Hunter. So yeah, they need to think very carefully about that. But I mean, it looks cool, and because just as they don't have the advantages of being hemmed in by the history of Monster Hunter, they also they can also just be a little bit, you know, they can move a little bit outside where Monster Hunter normally would. Monster Hunter tends not to be that adventurous. They tend to follow along with tradition pretty closely in a lot of ways, but they can do some interesting things if they're working in a new world. And there's a lot of they could do a lot more. I don't know, environmental interaction perhaps.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room for them to play around if they take this project seriously. So I'm interested to see how it develops and if it will be able to stand alongside Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's got
Also, some UI work would be nice.
yeah, just make Monster Hunter but with a better UI.
Loading
EA.
time optimization.
Yeah, if you can do that, I'll buy your product. I'll quit Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I'm sure that they will be able to land ahead of God Eater, but I don't know if they'll be able to land alongside Monster Hunter or not.
Just
Remains to
also
be seen.
make your ladies not look like men or Neanderthals.
Interestingly, it sounded like from the thing that I saw, although I can't find it now, that they were aiming for a group size of 1 to 3 for co-op, not 1 to 4. I'm not sure why they would make that decision. Maybe there's a really intrinsic reason to it as far as the combat systems are designed, but I'm sort of curious about that as well.
Yeah, no, that fits with us. We have 3.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
Anyway, I will drop the trailer at least in the show chat in case anybody wants to look at it.
Right. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. No, hard to form opinions, but something to keep an eyeball on until.
Well, competition is always good because in the ideal scenario, they will be able to learn from each other and borrow information from each other. Like, imagine how cool World of Warcraft could be if they had borrowed lessons on writing from the FF team.
Yeah.
And really fleshed out their world and their characters
Oh.
instead of making the clown show that they've currently got.
Do you want to use that as a segue?
I don't know where you're segueing to, but sure.
Have you seen the amount of people on YouTube that are simping for the dragon whatever story? Like, they've saying they learned their lesson. I see this on, like, Belsar's channel and stuff.
But the question that I have is whether or not whether or not people are simping for it, but whether or not they're simping for it in a way that is any different to what they've done every other expansion.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because I haven't followed the past few expansions, but it just bothers me because they're saying words like, "Oh, Blizzard's actually learned their lesson." No, they haven't. You have no evidence of this. They always put out stuff that makes it look like maybe they've learned their lesson, and they forget it 2 minutes later. Just stuff that makes me tear my hair out. Like the guy with the lazy eye on Belsar's channel was saying that.
Bellular.
Yeah, Bellular.
Yeah, that's channel. Yeah. What's Matt?
Is that his name?
Matt. You're the guy with the strabismus.
Yeah, the guy whose eyeball is incredibly distracting in every video he's in.
Yeah, well, if people like that can't help it. Apparently, if you're really young, they can surgically correct it, but if you grow up with it, then you just have to have your glasses re-aim your eye line.
It can be not his fault all he wants. It's still distracting.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. It definitely is distracting.
Like,
But,
become a pirate. Yarhar fiddle-dee-dee.
But the thing is that Bellular's team are one of those entities online that built their career out of World of Warcraft products, essentially.
Yeah.
A lot of the life that they lead is informed by World of Warcraft. Much like other people like Preach and that, like their whole career is founded on a Blizzard product. And they've got a lot tied up in it. They very much want it to be good. Like, up until I decided that, I'd had enough of the toxicity, it's over for me. Like, I would have been very open to the idea of just wanting World of Warcraft to be good again. Because I liked it, I have good memories associated with it. But I just don't see a path from where they are now to where I want them to be. so I don't care anymore.
Yeah. That was just a small tangent. I've seen other headline videos, but his was the only one I bothered to click on. Just out of pure curiosity to see how stupid these people are going to say. It came up in my recommendeds.
Well, yeah, I watched the video that I think you're talking about, and he does discuss a little bit things that they can borrow from Final Fantasy, but in the case of World of Warcraft, like, their basics are so bad that they can't be talking about doing anything clever. Like, that would be 100% learning how to run before you can walk, or before you can crawl, or before you can even sit up.
Yeah.
Like that, they've made such a clownish waste of their storytelling that there's really nothing to go on with. Like, they have been on the wrong track since, like, Cataclysm. Like, Cataclysm didn't advance on Wrath of the Lich King. At least they were advancing up until that point. Cataclysm was stagnation. They managed to do a few little advancements on MOP, and then I feel that Warlords of Draenor was only very, very marginal improvement over MOP in terms of their way their tech conveyed story, but the writing was worse. The writing went backwards. The writing was already pretty mediocre, but it went backwards. In Legion, I felt like the writing stagnated at best and then got sharply worse towards the end of the expansion, and then it got even more sharply worse ever since then. Like, they are at vanilla levels of writing competence now, which is to say, before they had built any. And I don't think that you can fix it. I don't think that you can just fix it. There's no, oh, well, if they adapt this technique, then suddenly the story will become good. No, the story is not going to become good. The reason the story is not going to become good is because the writers are bad at their jobs.
No,
End of story.
You need to fire the whole writing staff, hire a new writing staff, and have the new writing staff say the entire last 10 years were a dream.
Yeah, that's really where we're at now. I don't really see how you can really get out from under that. They have made a mess of it. It's not a compelling world. There are no compelling characters. The characters are basically a meme at this point.
Yeah.
Like, Shadowlands has done that. None of the characters are not a meme. Like, if you look at each one in turn, I mean, you've got Anduin, who's basically a meme for being this sort of incompetent golden boy who was supposed to be like the replacement for Medan, basically, when they made him non-canon, except that he's just bad at everything, and they're making him try and be a tortured hero, except nobody cares, and so on and so forth. And, you know, Jaina is a meme because she's become the meme of, like, the irrational woman who just lashes out at random and has constant mood swings.
Angry bitch syndrome.
Bane has been the meme of that he basically does nothing but sit at the side and scratch his backside, and that's all he ever does in any story event, is sit there and scratch his backside.
And then the whole mess that is Sylvanas.
Yeah, Sylvanas, like, nobody even wants to talk about Sylvanas because they've managed to ruin a character in such spectacular fashion. Tyrande is basically Jaina with pointy ears and more emo.
Do you watch Grimm's WoW videos? The guy that does the machinima that was the brutal takedown of leaving and coming to WoW.
I don't habitually watch anybody's videos, really, as far as World of Warcraft is concerned. I will occasionally see a video on World of Warcraft and watch it at random.
His interpretation of the characters is exactly how I view the World of Warcraft writing now, because I have no context. And this has, like, Bolvar doing lines of coke. And the jailer, Sylvanas, and Tyrande and everybody else with the most retarded faces you can imagine on their face going, "No, I was 10 steps ahead of my master plan. No, I was 20. Oh, I was 21 steps ahead of everybody." And
that's not inaccurate. That is how they did the writing. But like, as a result, like, that's the result, though. That's not the disease. That's the only writing that is left to you when you basically fail to use your characters in such spectacular fashion. Like, there is no character that you can name in that cast who is not just a total meme. Like, they are all caricatures of themselves, and the reason that they are caricatures of themselves is that they have not advanced in character development since they were just simple archetypes, like they were in vanilla. In vanilla, they were all simple archetypes, and that was just because that's who they were. We were introduced to them in Warcraft 3, and World of Warcraft was originally the impression I had of World of Warcraft is that it was supposed to be sort of a frozen in time version of that world, that setting. And then when they started getting really aggressive about moving the plot forward and telling stories involving the characters, they didn't really develop the characters
Yeah, and
at all.
you'll notice early on in their character movements, it was all side characters or characters that had been presumed dead at first. Like all the Burning Crusade characters that got development were all presumed dead ahead of time and had no impact on the current state of Azeroth. And in Wrath of the Lich King, you got like Bolvar, who was only active in World of Warcraft to begin with the Onyxia quest line, and Sourfang, who really only got any headway in World of Warcraft as far as his character went. It wasn't until Cataclysm that they started bringing in all the major lore characters and the writing started going way downhill.
Well, the thing with Bolvar is that he wasn't a character. His purpose as a character was to express the fact that the king was not there.
Yeah.
That was his only role.
Yeah. Well,
He did not have a character in and of himself.
oh, yeah, that's kind of sort of what I meant, but not really.
Sourfang was a meme before we had memes.
Yeah.
He was the meme of memes. Like he was the Chuck Norris.
They were characters that didn't matter, is what I'm getting at the end of the day.
There were no characters of any real importance, and they anytime they've tried to upgrade one to being importance, they did not set out any venue for the character to have any connection to them in any way. Like people know the Scions as people once they've been playing FF for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They are not like animals that have been observed moving around a terrarium.
Yeah, we all got to see Estinian in his tryhard mode, and now we get to appreciate him in his full retard mode, in all of his
Ready your
autism.
weapons. I fear she's been possessed.
Yes, and his full autism on display, and it's amazing. But it's because we've seen him from day one move as a character, and always move as a character. He never...
Yeah, well, and we journeyed across Ishgard at his side. We, sat around a campfire and chatted with him about his past and the things that he'd done. Like, that interweaving of our experience of the game with the characters that they want us to know, like, there has never been a single death of any character in World of Warcraft that had even 1% of the effect of the death of our boy in Ishgard at the end of
Honchebro?
Vigil. Whatever it was, in a vault.
Yeah.
Like, no, he was a character that we cared about, who had taken care of us and had our back all the time, and he died unfairly. And that had a huge impact on the player base as a whole. Everybody knows about that. I've never heard anybody say, I didn't give a toss that he died, I didn't care about him. Unless they didn't play the story at all, of course.
Like, I like the Heavensward story. I wasn't as engrossed as some people, but that was a moment that got some emotional reaction out of me. It wasn't a nothing moment, but you can
see its impact on the world that played that game, because they made, like, he is the reason, in my opinion, that Dragonsong Reprise exists.
Yeah.
The pinnacle content in the game exists because of him and because of how everybody felt about him.
Right now, the pinnacle content in this game is Ao's shaking her booty.
Well, yeah. But, yeah, it's that whole affair is purely because of people remembering him, valuing the experience of his story, and the opportunity is then provided to see things through to an alternative conclusion, even if it's only in story form, in storybook form. But that's that sort of thing. There's no parallel for it in World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
there's no character anybody cares about even a fraction that much.
And World of Warcraft just wasn't set up to handle that either. Like, at the beginning, because we had these characters in their static environments as archetypes, taking them out of that to develop them has to be done very slowly and carefully, and they would have a habit of bum rushing 1 to 3 characters per expansion, and trying to turn them into full characters from an archetype.
Yeah, it felt very much to me like they tried to do something that, number one, they didn't have the skill to do, and number two, they didn't really know what they wanted to do either. They just wanted to have like writing credentials sort of thing. It's like, oh, we can show that we can write this real cool story. Sort of like the DM that doesn't really give a toss about how his players feel about the story, but just is convinced that his story is so cool that everybody's naturally going to want to be a part of it.
The one that doesn't know how to write contingencies or roll with what the players do. Yeah, that
Yeah,
one.
the relentless railroad DM who is only interested in telling his story
The
and simply is unable to entertain anything outside of his original concept.
the one that has every minor plot beat written out, and is, instead of just guiding the players to the major beats, insists they hit every minor one along the path, even if the players want to do something else.
Yeah, this is what I mean is essentially that they they decide on the story, and when they get the resounding feedback that it is mediocre or bad, instead of thinking about how they constructed that story and trying to either fix it or do better next time, they double down. They say, "Oh no, the reason why they didn't like what we did was because they are bad at appreciating my art. So we just need to do it harder next time."
Fana.
But that's always how it goes, right? That's how you get Shadowlands. Like, Shadowlands is the story about, you know, half-baked metaphysics written by a guy with his head shoved so far up his backside that he's probably found a new dimension all of his own.
Eos's booty shaking has now gone from trying to entertain the viewers to being a neener at the WoW writing team in my head.
But yeah, it's I don't think that they made the right decision, and I don't think that there is a way back, and I don't think that there is a way forward for their writing style. Not really. I think that they are basically entrenched in mediocrity forever, and people need to get used to it. Like that, you can do really good micro stories in that format, and I think that they should be focusing on that. They should. My opinion is that in World of Warcraft should back away from having world-shaking characters. Number one, because eventually you'll run out of them and people get sick of them, like people got sick of Sylvanas after she stole the show again and again. And number two, they're really bad at using them. They're just really bad at everything they've done. So just back away from it. Back away from it. Make World of Warcraft about Azeroth and embed numerous well-told stories in it. Like if you think about stories that people actually remember from World of Warcraft, you're going to be talking about stories like that EPL plotline.
Oh, yeah.
What was it? You know, I'm trying to call it to mind, but I'm not having much fortune here. Where
I know the one you're talking about, but I can't call it to mind either.
Yeah, but those are the sorts of stories that actually stick in people's memory because they are developed using World of Warcraft strengths, and World of Warcraft's strength was a broad, rich, and continuous world.
Or Darrowshire. Darrowshire is a good one. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the one you were thinking of. Duh.
Yeah,
Duh.
Darrowshire. Yeah, the EPL plotline anyway. Like that story, people discover it organically, they participate in it organically, and they remember it, and it has no pretentious writing bullcrap in there.
And
It's just one tiny self-contained micro story that its weight comes from the environment that you are in, the world that you are passing through. It's not because it's founded on a whole bunch of elaborate character preparatory writing the way an FF14 does it, because FF14 has been telling a character story from the word go. They had some fits and starts, but once they found their feet, it was all about these are the people who you are trying to make a difference in the world with, and this is what you're about, this is what you're trying to accomplish, and you bounce off of all these other people and again on the way. World of Warcraft, its narrative strength is categorically in the world, and they should be fleshing out the world and the people that live in the world more than anything else, rather than creating a set of canned protagonists that we're going to have to witness steal the glory from us over and over again.
Yep. Much like you're witnessing Eos's booty right now.
You're very focused on that booty.
It is square in the middle of my screen. There's very little else to focus on.
I don't know how to make her turn around, so you'll have to deal.
Also, because Fern's not here, you get this on your screen. The thing Fern tries to avoid every week is you got a full hour and a half of half-naked cat girl dancing in Ao's booty. We know what the fans want. So, we have a few other minor topics if you really want to touch on them. We can wombo combo one of them.
You need to be less oblique, because I never know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Babylon's Fall and a picture you linked.
Oh, right.
So, Babylon's Fall has fallen into the same realm of Fallout 76 and Tabula Rasa. And
At least Fallout 76 is still operating and they aren't shutting it down.
yeah, but the stores are stuck with physical copies and they don't know what to do with it, so they're just zip tying it to other products and giving it out for free as to get rid of their stock and to use it as an advertisement of you get free video game. And this is apparently going on with a lot of GameStops in the US.
Yeah, this is basically the object lesson of what I was talking about earlier when I said that I absolutely dread seeing a game with a subheading saying this is free to play.
Yeah.
Because you know where it's going to end up. Anytime a game is free to play these days, it's not because they're trying out a new and experimental business model like it might have been once upon a time. No. Nowadays, that means that the bean counters have said this is how you're going to make money. You're going to exploit every psychological trick in the book and use this to get people to pour money into our coffers using microtransactions, and you're going to do whatever is necessary to blackmail the player base into doing so. Like this is what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And that's the vibe that I get every time I see something which is free to play nowadays. Like, I was flicking through the headline and I saw the announcement that about another ARPG, which is the Western release of the Korean one on December. It's just an ARPG, a fantasy ARPG, nothing that special about it. But I like ARPGs. Generally speaking, I like them. The thing is, this is a Korean one, which appears on PC, iOS, and Android, and it's free to play. Like, what information do you naturally glean from that then?
Content lacking unless you pay money, or they're going to be trickling out content very slowly, or it's going to be pay to win.
Or all of them.
Or all of the above.
Yeah. That's the information I get when I see that free to play. Coupled with the mobile format. Like, just please stop making this crap. Like, I just want real games, fully fledged games that function when I receive them and I get everything that's on the disc.
Unfortunately, they just don't make as many money-os to keep the bean counters as happy as these mobile games.
Well, Capcom's doing pretty damn good with Monster Hunter. Like, Rise is a very mediocre Monster Hunter game and they're still making bank off of it, and I loved every minute I spent playing it.
Yeah, they're doing really well with Resi and, well, the one Devil May Cry game they have made since then. But,
like, you can still do well on these things, but no, everybody's got to do the free-to-play thing. I mean, have you seen the debacle about Overwatch 2?
I've seen it on and off, but haven't followed the recent bits.
Every time there's a new story about it, it gets worse. They've basically, at this point, they've locked all of the features behind grind. You have to play like 100 matches to unlock all the characters or something like that.
That's ridiculous. Like, just let us pay an upfront cost for games again. I know you'll lose a bit of money-os, but think of the quality of your game. Think of the enjoyment you'll get from seeing your players actually like what you made. Think of the sense of accomplishment you'll get for producing a product and putting it out there and seeing people enjoy it, and then being able to build on that product and then maybe make another one later.
They're thinking of the money-os, though. We need to improve our quarterly report now. We don't need to build something that will become a cultural touchstone for a generation. We just need to get the quarterly report to be better.
Like, I know you people know this, especially you Californians, because the left knows this really well. There are currencies other than money.
I mean, the thing is that if you look at the games of this type, which have been really, 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 really successful and really memorable, and not just become some sort of weird niche side thing, like there aren't that many of them. There's like League of Legends, maybe, that have used a really aggressively microtransaction based
And Genshin.
marketing thing. Well, the thing is that Genshin has yet to prove itself. We don't know if people are going to be playing Genshin in 10 years the way they are with League of Legends.
Well, okay, yeah. As far as longevity goes, Genshin just as far as being a cultural flashstone has managed to sustain itself for its entire run so far.
Yeah, I mean it's doing well off of Gacha, but that's not like I don't know how popular Genshin is broadly. It's hard to tell. It's because they make so much money off of individual transactions, relatively speaking. But it is certainly popular. But time will tell whether it remains a cultural touchstone. But a lot of these older games that were made in the classic fashion, like while there are many that no one remembers, there are many that really did leave their mark. And I think that the design attributes that tend to be inherent in the microtransaction-centric business model don't lend themselves towards creating that.
Yeah.
That's not what you get as the final product compared to what you get when you are creating a magnum opus. Like the reason why you get, say, an MMO like Final Fantasy, which becomes a cultural event, is because Yoshi P intended it to be a magnum opus. That he wasn't making it to cash in on an IP. He was making it to be the great work of his life. And that's how he continues to see it to this day. It's his great work. But, I mean, most of these... You're turning around now.
Oh, I just was giving the audience a nice view of Aeos's booty real quick.
But the games that have been made for their own sake tend to have a chance to become great. Games that were made to facilitate microtransactions are very much passing things. Like I can't think of very many that have adopted that model and have actually become memorable. And no matter how good they might have been in like pieces, like there might be parts of them that are good that feel great to play or whatever, but they're not made to be a cultural event. They're made to be sustainable for a particular commercial lifetime, gathering a certain amount of revenue, ultimately. Whereas when I was growing up, every game was made to be the next big thing.
Yeah,
Like,
every
that was
game.
the objective.
Every game was made with the potential for impact.
Like and there was a lot more innovation as a result, in my opinion, because they needed to distinguish themselves. There was no easy way to addict people psychologically to participating and then bleed them dry of money over the course of 3 months and then let them go on to someone else that would bleed them dry of money then.
And that
innovation, how it worked.
And that innovation was different than what we see today, where people are trying to come up with the next gimmick to push out the next product and make it eye-catching for this next quarterly report. And step back then, like think of the collectathon genre. Nothing that any of those games kept doing was super revolutionary. It just kept doing things a little bit better and made things a little bit tighter and added a little bit more features, but didn't go overboard with weird gimmicks. Like the Mario to Banjo-Kazooie to Banjo-Tooie is a good example.
Yeah, well, you have your successful ones and you have your unsuccessful ones. Like everybody remembers Banjo-Kazooie as being great if they're into the collectathon. Not everybody remembers Donkey Kong 64 like that.
Yeah, well, people still remember Donkey Kong 64 though, because if you did play it, that was a big old game, and
it was also categorically worse than Banjo-Kazooie.
It was, but as kids, you would get a game and you get it for the N64. You don't got money to go buy another one. That's a age bracket thing, but still, a lot of people I know that played those type of games did play Donkey Kong 64 and was a big part of their childhood and still have memories from it. It was still a finished product. It was still a huge ass game, and this was a big deal, especially to kids, because you could play it forever. That thing was like 200 hours.
What I'm more thinking of is when we have head-to-heads with games now who are competing for an audience, they don't lean into things that are as interesting. Like, I'm leaving aside the whole, and I'm glad Fern's not here because he'd keep bringing up indie crap. The reality is that nobody plays indie crap. There's like one shining light appears for every 2,000 indie games that nobody ends up caring about, and that's sad. But it's
About
the
once
way
a
that you
yeah, about
it's the
twice
way
a
that you
year.
get good ones is by having that environment. So, people talk about the ones that they like Dead Cells or whatever that come out, or I don't follow them, but those ones that come out that are gradually barely being able to qualify as indie anymore because they've been given devolver money or whatever. But yeah, they come out. Yeah, I'm laying all that aside simply because that's a sort of an emergent phenomenon that happens as sort of static on the side. Because what drives trends is the center of the business. Maybe we will see a day where the indies take over and they drive the industry, but currently the big money drives the industry, and that's the way most industries work. And currently they have established this really toxic détente where they aren't really in competition with each other in any real sense. Like, there's not you have two games that both have battle passes and operate in the same way, type of thing. Like, these days when you have two games going head to head over the same audience, it's like Battlefield versus Call of Duty, and how really different are they? I'm sure the purists of them will say, oh, they're radically different, but when I was growing up, if you looked at the equivalent competition, you were seeing StarCraft versus Total Annihilation, you were seeing Doom versus Quake. Well, not Doom, Duke 3D by that point. Duke Nukem 3D versus Quake. They are both doing the same thing in the same time frame, but have radically different approaches to it. And to put it in simple terms, StarCraft and Duke Nukem 3D were 2D games, and that, ironically given the name, and Quake and Total Annihilation were polygon-based games. They both coexisted. They were both, all of them were successful, and they were radically different in their approach, in their setting, in their construction, in their engine. Every fundamental aspect from top to bottom was different, and they were direct competitors, nevertheless, both trying to carve out a space. Whereas, say, Duke Nukem 3D took the build engine and the sprite-based system and the sort of level structures, and they took that as far as it could go. The environments that you find in a sort of a player resonance sense in Duke Nukem 3D are radically better than the ones in Quake. Quake has a lot of very interesting environments. In a lot of ways, they're constructed in a much more advanced and innovative fashion in certain regards, using much more advanced technology given the time period. And they do a lot of other things. There's a lot more to the physics there. Like, they have a very in-depth physics engine compared to most other games that were extant at the time. But these are direct competitors doing very, very different things and doing them as well as they possibly can, and created two games that were cultural touchstones as a result. Everybody remembers those two if they grew up during that period, because they defined FPS in 1995 or whatever.
Yep.
But these days you don't have that. Like, nobody knows anything about any of the Call of Duties since maybe Modern Warfare 2, and nobody remembers really anything about Battlefield since Battlefield 2. Like, all of the other ones just blur together.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you past Modern Warfare 1.
Well, the reason people remember Modern Warfare 2 is because that's when they went to match.
I see.
Remember there's a big thing about it? I'm pretty sure Octale and Hordak harped on it at a great length as well. But,
yeah.
Yeah, there is this weird coexistence now where they're in competition, but they're not, because they all do everything exactly the same way, because they're all trying to get that money that the other guy has.
Yeah.
Duke Nukem 3D and Quake were doing things radically different because the creators had their own visions of how to make the best FPS game they possibly could. Whereas Battlefield and COD do things the same way because they want to get just as much money as the current market leader has.
Yes. I don't really have much to add to what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I don't really know what to add to it.
Well, it's 20 to 7 in the evening here. So maybe we should wind up.
Yep. We are officially past more than half the show of me dancing, so the thumbnail is going to be me dancing, and probably with Eos's booty.
Booty, booty, booty.
So, Fern, if you don't want TNA on the screen all the time for half the show, you need to not have disasters happen.
Yeah, like you've spent a significant portion of the show talking about the influence of various outfits on the size of your character's booba and talking about my fairy's backside.
Well, I mean, she's just been wiggling it there for the whole audience and everybody to see. She just goes left and then right, and then left and then right.
I'm zoomed so far out that I can't actually even see it, so...
Oh, I will screen cap this at some point. I will go back into the stream, mute it so I don't have to hear my own voice, and just screen cap what I've been looking at the whole time, and you can just see her subtle booty wiggle from left to right the whole time. Fern, come back!
Yeah, she's like 4 millimeters across on my screen, so I can't actually see anything.
So yeah, that's where we're at. Not a whole lot else going on. I threw some smaller topics in there, but we can skip them. I don't particularly want to talk about them anyway. Just some cringe and Nintendo delinking from social media,
Which couldn't happen fast enough.
Yep. So yep. Well, hope y'all enjoyed the show. And by show I mean us talking and not me dancing or Eos's booty. But you can enjoy those too if you want, I suppose. Fern, this is all your fault. I want you to know this. When you check the thumbnail and you see this, know that it was all your fault. How dare you have real life and responsibilities?
It's definitely all his fault. Nothing to do with the rail company at all.
Yep. How dare you have real life responsibilities and work to get to? So you better find a way to fix the railroads. Otherwise, next week I might go put on the swimsuit again. And who knows? Maybe we'll find a way to make Eos's booty even bigger on the screen. So yeah. All right. Email topic of the week is, as you can see, Eos's booty has been wiggling very nice on screen for you guys, and I have been dancing with my flowing tail for you people. Now, which did you like better, the twirling or the booty wiggle?
That's your topic.
That's your topic. Because, while we could tangent on a lot of stuff from the stuff we talked about, I feel this is what's going to be at the forefront of people's minds. So, alright, I think it's time for me to put the swishing tail away as I zip back to the center because that dance moves your character all over the place. And, yeah, I think we're ready to wrap up. You got any closing comments before I send this out?
I don't think so.
Alright. We'll see you next week, folks. Sayonara. Bye-bye.